All right, everybody. Welcome to Philo Sapience, where religion meets reason, and welcome to my co-hosts Martin and Khali. How you two doing?
Good, good, yeah.
All right, good, good. So we are back with one of our audience's favorite streams. We're going to be talking about prophecies and evaluate them based on reason and maybe facts, whatever comes in our way. I think we have done a couple of streams on prophecies, right? And one, I think two that I can remember vividly are the ones where Hamza Tzortzis and Mohammed Hijab went to South Africa, had a debate with what are their names? I forgot their names, right? But then these in Johannesburg, they had a debate, and that's where not Hamza, Mohammed Hijab brought prophecies, and we had a critique of that stream, right? So today as well, I think first up, lined up in my kitty is Lily J's short. We'll critique it, and then if Khali or Madin has any other ideas, any other suggestions, we'll pick that clip and move on with a critique of that clip. So, without any further ado, let's add this clip and see what it says. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, we can.
All right, all right.
Is this another miracle of Prophet Muhammad? He said that the human body has 360 joints. But guess what? Scientists only just confirmed that the human body does, in fact, have exactly 360 joints. How could someone 1400 years ago, without modern technology, even know this? What do you guys think?
All right.
Is this another miracle?
All right. What do you guys think? All right. First up, there is no consensus on the number of joints that a human body has. There have been, you know, there are joints which are probably not considered joints because of how they are fused. Maybe there are ligaments, there are hard ligaments, there are soft ligaments. So the numbers are usually thrown about by orthopedics is orthopedics is maybe 260, 200, whatever, to even 400 numbers. I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think there is a consensus on the number of bones or the joints that human body has, right? And there are cases of children being born with fused bones, right? So it's not a generalization. You can say that's an anomaly, by the way, but then yes, not all. There are children, and very many number of children who are born with very few bones, or maybe there are children who are born with many more bones, right? So that's another thing, right? And the third point is, I think we went through this, you know, topic of what is logically can be considered as a prophecy, and we had listed quite a few things, right? uh, I mean, your prophecy or your prediction, quote unquote prediction in the future doesn't have to be of mundane nature. It should have been predicted with very precise timelines. It has to be very, it shouldn't be a vague number or vague prophecy or prediction. So many things like that I think we had discussed, right? So what make for a good prophecy? But here, even if you say there is some hadith written over there which says, okay, human body has 360 joints, I'm not quite sure it counts as a prophecy, right? I mean, weren't people dying in Arabia or wherever these hadith were being written? Of course, I mean, there were skeletons available for people to examine. Is it too hard to count the number of bones? Maybe there are some bones which are very small, but it's not something that you need a microscope to find out, a DNA probably, or a structure of a DNA. It's not nothing like that. So I'm not quite sure what this is all about. Is this a prophecy? Maybe it was a knowledge probably Galen already had, maybe Hippocrates already had, maybe Aristotle had done some research on it. He came up with certain number. maybe in the ballpark of 300, 340, 280, something like that. Then maybe people down the line like Galen, maybe even worked on it and came up with even closer number to
Well,
that.
for our viewers, I'm not really sure about this question really because I'm not sure of how many bones are there in the human body. So why don't you, for our viewers, do like a quick live analysis, a very quick look at what the consensus is. Maybe just do it through Google Scholar perhaps, or Google, because I'm not sure there is a consensus as you mentioned. I've never looked into it, to be honest. Um, but what is it? What's the actual number? What are the ballpark numbers? And then I can comment a little bit more after we look at that.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Let's share the screen and show it to everybody. What the Google says. I think everybody can Google it, right? I mean, even I don't even have to do it, right?
Mhm.
Can you see
Yeah,
206 bones?
right.
Right. So what is this 360 number? Where is it coming from? Which
Can you
I don't even know. I don't
for
even know
joints,
which hadith it
joints,
is.
joint? Can you also
Oh,
look for
right. So
joints?
yeah, yeah.
It
Sorry,
says
my bad,
joints.
my bad. Yeah. How many joints? My bad. So generally, adults have around 360 joints, though some sources may cite a slightly different number depending on whether they include only movable
What did
joints.
it, what was this? What was it stated in the hadith? Or
Yeah, I don't even know what the hadith is, and I'm saying, let's say, even if it's right of what the number
I know,
that
but I want to
360
less.
joints.
I think this is more interesting because I want to see what's actually said in the hadith versus what the actual bone count is, the joint count is. Sorry, let's make it visual.
Yeah, let me check that.
So what I would say, whilst you're looking for that, I would say to the public, in general, of course, as Philo said, you got to account for the fact that one, is this something humanly discoverable, and is this something that ancient scientists, if you want to call it, had known? You know, Galen,
Yeah,
Hippocrates.
and they
Yeah,
did.
yeah, and
If you,
I would
yeah,
imagine, it's countable, it's quantifiable, and a lot of the information we know already in the Hadiths in the Quran has great resemblance to ancient knowledge, and as such, we should come with that sort of yardstick as well for this one and go, okay, if it does say that there's something like this, let's have a look at what was not known during the 7th century or before the 7th century, even, right? And this is quite an interesting one because I've actually not really. Maybe there's so many different types of hadiths and different types of. Kylie, have you heard of this one before?
Callie, we can't hear you, Callie.
apologies. Yeah, sorry. I thought I didn't realize I was on mute.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that I've heard of this, but I've never actually gone and checked the actual hadith, what it says. But if you check it, I think what you find out is that if you research this topic, I think what you find out is that this was mentioned. I mean, this 360, the number of joints in a human body, it seems to have been mentioned in some Chinese text as well, which was like 200 BC. You can see that in it's there visible on your screen as well. It's on Reddit. It mentioned it seems to be referring to that. Now there seems to be one or two more sources as well where it probably has been uh, mentioned that this is the number of bones, and the reason could be that, yeah, the reason could be that, you as you mentioned, if it is the correct number, then it could simply be because you can count those number of bones that in a skeleton. So it's not something like it's completely inaccessible to humans, even ancient humans. And if it does, like, if it is indeed if it was indeed said by the prophet, even then it does not sound anything scientifically miraculous. Plus, I think, strangely, I also was, while you were discussing this, I also checked on Google as to what's the saying about, um, you know, what is this? What is the number of joints in the human body? I did not write that down. I actually asked. Uh, in fact, when I asked this, how many joints are there in human body? It's told me that while some sources suggest a specific number like 360, the exact number of joints in the human body can vary depending on how they're defined, of course, and then regardless of movement, generally atomists agree the number falls between 300 and 400.
Yeah,
So
that's what I initially said
yeah,
as well,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's defined as some of the joints are not movable, basically, right? Because there
exactly.
are constraints. There are constraints.
and
I've got a good
Yeah,
and you know
idea.
what,
Before
and
you
one thing,
before you
and one
continue,
yeah,
before you continue, I've got a good idea. I'll let Kylie finish in a minute. But because since Lily J person does a lot of Chat GPT things, we can ask Chat GPT which sources in classical antiquities,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. I
mention,
actually asked this question. When you
yeah.
cite the scientific source, it mentioned the number of joints in human body. And it said there is no definite number of joints in the human body. And it says that, for example, I can see that it says, you can write it down in your screen as well, Philo.
right.
It says scientific literature does not pinpoint a single authoritative number of joints in a human body. As the cited sources show, the scientific community recognizes the count is not fixed, universal number for all individuals. Instead, anatomy and physiology textbook focus on classifying and describing the different types of joints to explain how the skeleton moves and functions. So, I mean, yeah,
Okay, yeah, what I'm doing is I'm gonna bring not ChatGPT, but ChatGPT's friend,
Yeah, but I want to know
and
historically, which classical text mentioned 360 as well, other than the Quran?
it's a Chinese text. And what's the name of that? Um, it is mentioned in the Lu Pu Wei's Spring and Autumns. Basically, it's that's the name. Lu Lu Pu Wei,
Okay,
right? Yeah.
right. So I think that would resoundingly debunk everything.
Yeah, no, but here you see, right? I think it's debunked from many different angles, right? You don't have a very fixed number. So there's Gemini, by the way, right? So Gemini is saying between 250 and 350 joints, right? And the Hadith that says it's about Adam's children, right? And now everybody is Adam's child, pretty much, right? All the whole of humanity, right? Maybe not. Maybe how do you take? If see if this hadith, if this number was very strictly different, right? Let's say 206, and had you asked that question about this hadith, what would the reply be from apologists? No, it is only talking about the children of Adam. It's not talking about the humanity in general. Now, just because it seemingly fits this bill of 360 by scientists on some accounts, now this becomes a miracle all of a sudden, right? Or a prophecy, right? This wouldn't have been the case had it only been, had it been a different number, very strictly different number. So this is the vagueness, right? I mean, the vagueness that you can appeal to fit to whatever you want to get out of your scriptures, right? And to make them look, really magnificent, pretty much, right? So that's how I see it. And it's nothing. It's not something that you wouldn't have known. I mean, any human could know that. Once they have a skeleton of a human being well preserved, of especially of a child, or who's maybe in teens, because they have all the bones grown up pretty much, right? And they have died, and their carcass is probably just dried up, maybe, or dug up from a grave or something, or whatever, right? Whatever the case may be, they can probably. And these scientists, those medical scientists at those times, did that. Even Michelangelo in 13th 14th century did that, right? He went to mortuary to study the anatomy of human body. So these
Yeah.
scientists had to do all these things. Basically, they
Yeah.
would go to
I
mortuary,
want to
find
also
a
say,
yeah.
so I'm just thinking about common objections that people may raise. So the first objection might be, and I think this is a very interesting way of kind of portraying this to our audience, actually using the internet rather than just us talking, right? I think this is it's like a presentation, isn't it? So a common objection might be, but Muhammad was a illiterate man. Yeah, how could he? Okay, fine. It may be the case that people can go and count the anatomy, the bodies of carcasses but he wasn't a medical scientist. He was a man of his time, and he didn't have the access and the connections to the wealth of knowledge that may have enabled him to acquire knowledge about the human anatomy, right? So as to be able to reproduce this stuff. So therefore, it's still miraculous in the sense that even if maybe Galen or Hippocrates or ancient scientists or the Chinese texts mention this, how would Muhammad be able to go and acquire this information? That would be one objection. So do you want us to handle that one?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let me refer to that. Now you see, if you go through, if you do a bit more research, I think it's what you'll notice is that this 360 number is not something that was only there in Chinese text. I can also see that it seems to be referring to some Indian text as well. Now when you say something, when there are things that you find in certain texts, but that does not mean that you have to go to that text to get access to that information. What needs to happen is, if a certain thing gets popularized in the masses somehow, like there are these many number of bones in a human body. Now then it becomes a general sort of information that flows um, through the masses and through societies and civilizations. So I think if 360 was something, the number of joints was believed not just by Chinese but also by Indians and maybe some other people as well, then I mean, it's not something that that you would say is an issue. Number two, I mean, we don't have to believe that these hadiths were actually said by the Prophet. Maybe they were actually made up later on. Particularly, not all of them, but maybe these ones.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
quite a bit of them, right? I mean,
exactly.
see, that's one of the things. It keeps coming up in our streams is basically, and I keep saying that again and again, that uh, you have to be really critical about these number of ahadith appearing 200 years later. Why? Why were there no collections before, in Umayyad era? Why did it happen that only 200 years later there were millions and millions of ahadith all of a sudden appearing? It, you have to question that. It makes no sense, right? And that's why when Kelly says that these hadith, you don't have to say that they are coming. I mean, there is a very strict assumption when you deal with evaluating these miracles, is that these ahadith, especially the ones that are termed quote unquote prophetic, they are coming from Prophet Muhammad himself, and from the time of his reign, probably from 610 to 632, or whatever, however you want to see it. And this doesn't really follow, because you have these prophecies written in Hadith literature much later, probably even in ninth century, the first half of ninth century. So you have to question all these methodologies basically before tagging them as even closer to being anything prophetic, right? For prophecies to be true, you have to have the proper origin, no vagueness. The timelines have to be really clear, no, precise, not a mundane task that you're talking about. So all these parameters, once they are, in the mix, then you can have some sense of a prophecy, basically, right? Oh yes, this might be a prophecy. Let's see if it gets fulfilled or not, right?
What I will also add, that there's plenty of information within the Islamic literature, the Quran, the Surah, the Hadiths, that there is a lot of contact with between Muhammad, his companions and the rest of the world. It's not this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's not this isolated kind of. It's based. I mean, if even Hamza Tzortzis, when he debunked the scientific prophecy argument
Yeah.
in 2015, he gave an example of Muhammad watching the Romans and acquiring knowledge from them. I think it was. Don't quote me on it. Maybe with breastfeeding, something to do with breastfeeding.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Exactly. So the fact that knowledge gets popularized, circulates, is shown in the hadith. Obviously, not every instant of Muhammad's life was documented in that, but the fact that he does have that open communication shows that if there are popular beliefs that circulated during that time, he's more likely to regurgitate those, right? And if this 360 number is featured in the past, then it explains why that 360 number can feature again amongst through the lens of Islam as well, because Islam would have picked up on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
one more point. Yeah, one more point I wanted to make here. See, this is what the definitions are, right? That's why scientists have to be precise, right? And right now, even in the scientific community, there is no consensus as to what constitutes as a joint, right? Some say any point where two bones meet is a joint. Then some say no, only those points where there is movement allowed, right? So I mean, first thing is very clear here, right? You have to suspect that these. It doesn't even matter whether these hadith were written during the time of Prophet Muhammad. I sometimes question that whether he existed in the way that is depicted in the hadith literature. Probably not. Was there a person? Maybe not. Who knows, right? But then, even if that's true, that these hadith were written during someone named Muhammad's time, there, I mean, people could have known this information without uh, being prophetic about it. As we saw that Chinese could knew it, and anybody who gets an access to a skeleton could just count. Oh yes, there are these two bones meeting, right? There are these two bones meeting.
Would you be able to pull up the Chinese source as well? Because I really want this to be a very nice visual presentation of debunking this.
No, I just have this on Google search, so I can show that basically.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile, you can open up this link to the hadith that Mahathir just referred to. I have given a link to that in the chat.
Yeah. But can you see this? The earliest mention appears in the ancient Chinese texts, such as Lu Pu Wei's Springs and Autumns, right? I think maybe I think a better approach would have been to just get this, whatever that writing is, maybe a manuscript of it, or what is written about it. That would have been a comprehensive approach to, at least showcasing that this information did exist prior to it. And I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, Kali and Mahadin, that this information was pretty much prevalent in other cultures as well, even if it was not written down. Probably they don't have access to their text, so it's probably only written as if only Chinese knew. But I wouldn't be surprised that even the Egyptians knew about it, the Greeks knew about it, Indians knew about it, Sumerians probably even knew about it. I mean, this is not an information that is highly elusive. It's a very easily accessible information, right? So it was way prevalent than it appears to be to us as of now. But yeah. Okay, let's open that hadith that you're talking about. Anyway, anyone wants to add anything to this, by the way? And if not, so what I'm thinking, Kali and Maden, and tell me if there is any other approach we should take, because we are already 25 minutes down the stream. Shall we open the link and then we'll keep critiquing other prophecies?
I personally think we should criticize the prophecies and do a proper analysis rather than just move off topic and talk about other things. Do what we said.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. We can do. No, the issue is that this is the one and only I had in my kitty. I probably have another one in my kitty. Then I'll bring it up. Then I have a couple of miracles which are
Yeah.
interspersed with prophecies. So maybe we can look into that. But
Okay.
before that, before we do that, I think let's bring this one that Kali wants to talk about.
Okay.
Okay. Let me close the other windows. I have so many windows open. Not even sure. Okay, so can you tell us about this? You shared this, Kali,
We
or
cannot see. Mahadin mentioned it, and I just shared the link. That it's not like they were living in a silo where they had no access to other civilizations and the knowledge or the beliefs that other civilizations had. So if you refer to this hadith, and there are multiple uh, chains of narrations for this, where the prophet says that I intended to prohibit cohabitation with the suckling woman, but I considered the Greeks and Persians and saw that they suckle their children, and this thing does not do any harm to them. And there. So what this hadith seems to be referring to is that this prophet, even somehow, he he had access to this information, what the Greeks and Persians were doing in general and their medical practices. So I think, and because this is a medical belief, right, that okay, you can do this or you cannot do this. So there used to be these sort of beliefs about medical practices or certain practices which might be considered harmful, but prophet seems to be saying that he had access to this information, that Greeks and Persians were doing this, and they did not cause them any harm, and therefore I have not prohibited this. Yeah, I mean, there are other problems with this hadith, but right now we're just discussing the fact that this seems to
that they were?
clearly,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, this seems to clearly indicate that he had access to, if not direct, somehow indirect. If you want to if you don't want to infer direct access,
Yeah.
there was at least some indirect access that prophet had to what kind of practices were there in the Greeks and
That's right.
Persians. I mean, medical practices even.
Yeah, that's right. So
Right.
let me just quickly tie it up then into a very quick argument. So in order to demonstrate a prophecy, you have to show that a very simple principle. You have to show that you've exhausted all naturalistic explanations, and that this is impossible to be known through natural means. Clearly, in this situation, that it's not the case. You've not exhausted all naturalistic explanations. You've not shown that it's impossible to be known for this to be known through natural means, simply because this was, as you can see, as we've shown, knowledge that was known prior to Islam in the 2nd century, even before that, right? 360 joints it seems to be something that has been known amongst human beings with no influence or attachment to Islam, and so on. So therefore, what's more likely? That's the argument, right? Is it more likely that God had to come down and tell Muhammad through an angel that there's 360 joints in the body, or is this just something that he could have conjured up because he heard it around, and the more likely hypothesis is that this is something that he heard. Why? Because it's just, in terms of frequencies of explanations, in terms of probabilistic thinking, it's more probable, right? On the other hand, what some Muslims may want to say, that it's highly improbable. It's so improbable for Muhammad to acquire this knowledge that it must have come from an angel, some sort of intercession through an angel, right? But which one is more likely? Think about it. In terms of background knowledge, even if it's
In
highly
terms of
unlikely,
prior knowledge, right? Yes, true.
prior
True.
knowledge, yeah,
This,
even if it's quite
yeah.
unlikely that some Chinese myth would, or Chinese knowledge would enter the not earshot of Muhammad or his companions or the Arabian society at
No,
the time,
why
even
is
if
it
it's unlikely.
unlikely, Madan? I mean, why is it? I mean, Silk Road
No, even
or
let's
Silk
hypothetically
Route.
consider that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. No,
hypothetically.
but I'm saying the facts belie those hypotheticals as well. So maybe your approach is to
No, no, I'm
give
just,
them, yeah,
I'm actually
steel manning
strengthening.
their case. Yeah,
Yes,
steel manning their
and I
case.
think good
Yeah.
arguments. I think the good arguments do that. I mean, I think good arguments do assume the worst for the atheist position,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then still
totally,
try.
totally. Go for it. Totally go for
Even
it.
if you think it's unlikely, it's quite rare for that knowledge to be disseminated, right? And it will still be in terms of, and this is more to do with Bayesian thinking. Bayesian, if anybody wants to look at Bayes' theorem, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah. Even something unlikely would become likely in compared to an alternative hypothesis that is even more unlikely.
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
The alternative hypothesis that's even more unlikely is that the laws of physics had to be broken, that an angel had to exist to transmit this knowledge. So even let's say it was only 5% of the people in Arabia. So I'm steel manning now. This is not true. This is hypothetical. Only 5% of people of Arabia could have known this knowledge, right? That's still a naturalistic hypothesis that has higher likelihood than the laws of physics being broken. And that's all I want to drive home here, right? It's called Bayes' theorem, right? Or you may have seen different formulations of this under Hume's prophecy, Hume's argument against miracles, David Hume's arguments against miracles. It's more likely that a rare natural possibility explains something, a very, very rare natural possibility, than an unknown supernatural thing that has no such prior probability. Between the two things, you should always go for the naturalistic hypothesis because it's more likely. So that's what I would say, even taking the concessionary position, the charitable position for them.
All right. Shall we move on to the next one then?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm trying to find which one. Okay, let me check if I have one. In between, if you two have anything to talk about, just do so.
Yeah. Well, whilst you're looking for it, I'll just say, but the thing that I'm talking about is actually well accepted in any other form of commonsensical rational thinking, right? For example, if there's a very, 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 very rare thing that can happen in your car, for example, right? Yeah. So let's say your car breaks down, and somebody suggests a rare explanation that happens to 1 in 100,000 cars. And they come and say, yeah, your exhaust has this problem, and you think, wait a minute, that's extremely rare, right? And if you think you can't explain it other than that explanation, you can't explain it other than that rare explanation, that exhaust has that problem, that rare problem, that very, 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 very few cars ever get, right? You can't explain it. If somebody else comes along and said, well, maybe this kind of magic ghost came, genie came along and destroyed your car. Yeah. You'd be stupid to think that, wait a minute. In fact, you'll make a logical contradiction. You'll contradict yourself to think, no, this rare car defect can't happen because it's so rare. Therefore, this even rare thing, yeah, which is unheard of at all. Because what you're saying is, because it happens only 5% of the time, I should only pick things that are more likely. But if you are not willing to accept something that happens in 5% of the time or 1% of the time for something that has never happened 0% of the time, right? Because we don't have any documented incidents. Then for consistency, you should discount that rare, even rarer explanation, which in this case is the genie, right? We use common sense like this all the time, right? And when we've exhausted all the other possibilities, all other likelier possibilities, maybe that rare car defect has manifested in this situation. It's just probabilistic thinking. We use this all the time in all other situations. It's not something that I just made up.
Yeah. I think, Hadin, before we start the next review, well, obviously has 2 comments. Shall we go through those and maybe put an invitation for him to join, right? Well, feel
Why
very,
even?
yeah.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
has
why
been
even
on our
bring them
stream
up?
before.
Yeah, he hasn't said anything,
Yeah,
worthwhile. So just
yeah.
ignore him. I don't think so.
He has been on our stream before. He's that guy a year ago that we had a hostile conversation with, to put it pleasantly.
Is that so? Is this the guy whom we had on the stream?
Yeah, unless he's a copycat. He's the same
Okay.
guy who came on and attacked all of us, remember? And then I had a massive Mohammed Hijab
Yeah.
style break.
Oh
Yeah.
yes. Okay. 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 Right. Right. Right.
And
Now
he
I
hadn't listened
remember.
to anything, and he just started making all these claims like, you're being hateful towards this, and I think he's the one. Is he the one, Madan, who you then asked, okay,
Yes,
tell me where were we hateful? And we
yes,
listened to
yes.
our streams where we have actually sort of discouraged hatreds toward Muslim, even, right? Even arguing that Islam clearly is or supports or encourages violence, right? Or this warfare. So I think you referred
Yeah,
to
yeah,
that. I
I
think
remember
is what you're very.
he had a long conversation in the comment section as well
Yeah,
in one of our streams, I think, right? So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
so yeah,
Anyway,
we don't need to discuss him anymore. Yeah, no, let's move on.
yeah. Anyway, move on. Let's move on. All right. Okay, let's move on to this next one. I haven't heard this one as well, right? I don't know. It's something with Beyonce. I don't know. Never heard anything like this before. So let's see what it is.
Did you know Prophet Muhammad predicted something that is happening right now? And it involves Beyonce, Jay-Z, and their children. Listen to this. Prophet Muhammad told us that at the ends of times, satanic rituals will become normal. Now, Beyonce just launched her brand new world tour and it features her two daughters. It looks like this cute family moment, but this show is packed with dark, disturbing symbolism. Both daughters keep making this strange hand sign at every performance, and so does their father and Beyonce. And this sign is tied to satanic rituals, a system that rejects God's authority and promotes control, fame, and hidden agendas. The music industry is full of these symbols, but most people have no idea what they're supporting. This is like so scary. And this is exactly what Prophet Muhammad warned us about. Is this the end of times? What do you guys think? Beyonce,
All right. What do you guys think? All right. I have no clue. I mean, people make different kind of gestures with their hands. Maybe when people are not even making any explicit gesture, their hand movements are such that you can take it as a different gesture than somebody else's normal gesture. What does it have to do, basically, right? I mean, of course, people want to associate themselves with certain things. I mean, what she's talking about, it's a ritual, and all the cults have rituals. I don't know which cult you are talking about. uh, can somebody tag Abrahamic religions as cults? Then there are rituals for sure there. So yes, maybe somebody could say yes, bowing down 5 times a day could be a ritual. For Hindus, just bowing down in front of a statue could be a ritual. Or for Jews or for Christians, whatever, this, you can say the same things. Making a hand gesture is a symbol. What was that predicted in the Hadith? First of all, was it that everyone would turn towards Satan? I think there have been satanic cults since the inception of probably Christianity, and even before that, even there were cults who would. I mean, I know for sure there were cults um, in India who were shamanic cults, not shamanic, but shamanic were South American cults, but they were. I'm pretty sure there were tribes who would worship something very different than the rest of the maybe Hindus were worshipping. And same is true for Aborigines, or same is true for a lot of African tribes, or a lot of American tribes. I mean, South American tribes. So I'm not quite sure what she's on about. All right, guys, you have any thoughts on this? Maybe this is just not a
So what
fruitless.
what what
Fruit.
are the exact symbols she's talking about?
I think hand gesturing, some triangle, and then I think that uh, you know, I don't know what that triangle symbol is, right?
Hmm.
With the hands. Yeah, I don't know. You want to see it again?
Yeah, let's see it.
Can you see it here?
Yeah.
I'll zoom it in. I'll zoom it in further. I don't know. I can't zoom it in. Okay, I can't zoom it in. But you see that there, right?
Yeah.
I'll point my cursor towards it,
So
right? Here.
a triangle is triangle with your hand is a representation of Satan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So and does so when it comes to the Islamic literature, is there any such specificity when it says that the triangle symbol is to be connected to Satan?
I mean, even if it is, who knows that it wasn't used by earlier Christians as well, right?
Yeah. So
Or
that's the
maybe
thing.
maybe
That's the
maybe
difficulty with this.
they were maybe see there have been polytheists all around Arabia, right? Yemen had polytheists, yeah, Jordan had polytheists, Syria had polytheists. If you went up north toward Greece, then Greece had polytheists. Egypt had polytheists all around Saudi Arabia. They were plethora of polytheists. There were pockets of Jews and Christians. Jews were initially not monotheists, right? So could be anybody else with, and every tribe had a very different way of having symbols. So not quite sure. I mean, what symbol are you talking about? I mean, it's
Yeah.
quite
So what
possible
I would
that
say,
somebody
yeah,
had a very triangulish symbol back then,
yeah, what I would say is that the
and then
triangle, the triangle frame is of such a common,
it's a
well
very common.
documented
That's
symbol
exactly.
that represents so many different things to so many people, right? Conveying different messages in the same sense that all forms of hand gestures, body language, poses, postures are given a multitude, a multiplicity of different meanings in different cultures throughout humanity. If you just so this point can be very easily debunked if you think about it from the point of view that all shapes, all forms of graphic, almost, particularly generic ones. I would not almost say all shapes. I won't say the Coca-Cola shape has featured in history. Yeah, Coca-Cola shape hasn't, right? The Coca-Cola shape. When I say the Coca-Cola shape, I'm talking about the Coca-Cola symbol, where it says Coca-Cola. But simple shapes like squares, triangles, even rectangles, they feature on buildings. They feature on government buildings, on pamphlets, in businesses, in iconography, art icons, to such an extent it proliferates through history that it's just a coincidence that you'll see this amongst human beings to mean different things, right? To mean different things. So to kind of exclusively retain the idea that this kind of hand gesture is a symbol of Satan, when in reality these sort of hand gestures and poses have been reclaimed and reiterated and repeated for different purposes around the world. Yeah, I think sufficient to show that it's just merely the fact that the human population is so big and there's so many different cultures that you're going to see these sort of things. There's so many different hand gestures that are used in different ways in different cultures. Like in China, we say hello in a different way in this country than they do in other countries. People bow, and therefore I don't see this. I just don't see the relevance of this really. Like if you want to Google, let's Google this because I think we've done pretty good. How many cultures you can use even Chat GPT or Gemini? What does the triangle symbol represent by your hands in different cultures? And let's look at the list of different types of things it means.
Yes, checking. Right, I was on quiet, mute. What did the triangle symbol mean in different cultures?
Yeah, what does it? A triangle hand gesture.
Yeah. What did the triangle hand gesture? Right. Let's see. See, I think I don't think you even have to go to any of these, uh, because we know that triangle has had a very huge significance in Christian culture, right? It's a holy trinity, three sides of the same triangle, right? In Buddhism, Hinduism, you also see it there, right? Triangle mudras, gestures. See how many. I mean, you have to just think of it very rationally and very logically. There have been billions upon billions of human beings, and your hands can have only so many degrees of freedom, and your fingers can only have so many degrees of freedom. I mean, there would have occasions, there would have many thousands, if not millions of occasions where people would make these symbols and they would become part of their, you know, symbology. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but they'll become part of maybe a gesture which is used to convey a meaning, maybe a bad meaning, maybe a good meaning, whatever you want to call it. Maybe somebody symbolized that triangle is for a hazard, right? I mean, you if you go to UK or US, that triangle symbol with yellow and green, black thing is danger, right? And it could have meant something else as well, probably in different cultures, right? But only so many things you can make gestures with hands, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Kelly, you want to add something to it, maybe, or otherwise, if not, then we'll move on to the next one. Kelly, you there? Maybe you're talking on mute. All right, let's move on then. Shall we make the link public if anybody wants to join? Kelly, you're now on.
Yeah, I think we can. I mean, we can make the link public. What do you think, Madan?
Yeah, you can, but do you want to do one more prophecy as well?
Yeah, we'll keep doing it, but let's make the link public, right? So
Yeah,
that
kindly, by the way, what do you think about that? All this Freemason, it's all this Illuminati Freemason stuff, basically. That's
yeah,
that's
Illuminati is the
I
word
didn't
that I
comment
got
on that
mixed up.
because
yeah.
I mean, it was a while back when there was a kind of doc. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. There was a documentary. I think it was called The Arrivals.
Arrivals. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it got very popular, and that was my introduction to all of this kind of conspiracy theories and all. And I was like, oh my, I mean, this looks very convincing. But I mean, it didn't take very long for me to go and check. Okay, this seems to be a lot of bullshit. So yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say. It's just conspiracy theories. It could be true that there's a specific kind of uh, mentality or cult, behind it. But I I don't think it's something to worry about because I let the religious people worry about Satan. I don't think I'm bothered by Satan.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, given the proliferation and prominence of these symbols already, and the fact that our culture still has the ashes or the remnants of historical symbolism, it's not unbelievably surprising that modern culture will have these symbols as well, continued, right? Given Muhammad's time, he saw the oppos if you want to call it oppositional, you can see, he saw, as Philo said, polytheists and other monotheisms, other religions with those symbols, and it's only been 1,000, 2,000 years since Islam's reign, if you want to call it, or Muhammad's inception of Islam. So clearly, society, the fact that he can register these symbols, and he mentions it. He doesn't. First of all, he doesn't specifically mention that. But first of all, what does a satanic symbol mean? It's not clear, right? but if for example some of these symbols were when you say satanic, you're calling it you're calling out the polytheists, you're calling out all the oppositional tribes, and you're calling out certain belief systems that exist at the time. The fact that the population has grown and we've come to this date, and some of the remnants of those symbols are still existing today and repurposed to other ends, particularly in an age of secularism, where people inventively and creatively, deliberately sometimes, in order to be cool, in order to be edgy, in order to be countercultural, in order to because we're now going past it, but we're still in that situation where we're looking back at religion and going, these are myths, in order to desecularize or demythify these things. So is it surprising that you would have cultures today actively using these symbols as a form of comic relief, as a form of artistic creativity, as a form of, let me just give you an example.
I mean, it could just be being cool, maybe being just, being just yourself, right? I mean, it because it's different from somebody else. That's why
Exactly.
probably.
Let me give you the Michael Jackson Thriller video, right? He adopted the colors of the he adopted makeup and put on all this other stuff in order to become a vampire. Oh no, a werewolf, right?
Right. Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that people can be creative deliberately just to do just exactly that, right? A lot of people today, because they are familiar with the previous generations, previous centuries, they're going to end up readopting things that were there in the past, right? Now, the prophecy is supposed to suggest that is a prediction of that. But my suggestion is, which theory is more compelling or convincing? Or, for example, can this still be explained naturalistically? Does it exhaust all naturalistic explanations, right? It could be that this was a prophecy about something that was already known, that there's countercultural beliefs, there are people who had these symbols and use these symbols in particular ways. And we still have that. People are using these symbols and using these symbols in particular ways. That might be a prophecy, right? A prediction of the continuation of that or something. But you can also explain it naturalistically, right? Because
can I interject you for a minute, Madan? Just a second. This is still not a prophecy, because there is a second part to this prophecy. Is the end of times. At the end of times, these symbols will become common. Right now, the symbols have become common. Now the next part of the prophecy still has to take place. There is an end of time. I mean, the end of time hasn't come as yet, right? Of course. I mean, if you say that so it's a conjunction of two things, in my opinion. That, okay, you'll see these symbols, and then after, maybe there is no time frame as to when that end of time will come, basically. So I think the other part of the missing piece of the puzzle is still out there, and that's why it's not probably a proper prophecy, because it's so vague, because there's no uh, timeline given for the end of times. Of course, I mean, you can say yes, one part of the prophecy is just that these symbols will become common, and these, let's say, for as you steel man the other one, let's steel man it and say these symbols are actually depicting those satanic symbols will become common, and these are satanic symbols, but still the other part is missing. Let's see if the end of times come or not, right?
Yeah, and you can still explain it naturalistically in the sense that you would expect if religion is man-made, just like any other thing, that that you would have an expectation that those historical languages, cultures, customs will continue as well in a different way. It'll be recirculated and refurbished, even reclaimed by other cultures, and it will continue. It's like thinking.
I think refurnished is what you're looking for.
Maybe like it's like thinking that the clothing of the time. There's lots of things today that represent the past: symbols, clothing, this is still there. The remnants are still there, and you can almost always predict that. I can predict right now, for example, 500 years from now on, there's going to be things from the past, which is today, to my present, that will feature in the future, and it'll be an accurate prediction. Yeah, simply because that's what man can understand, right? And it's not, if you're restating the same thing that is already there. So keep in mind, these symbols were already there. These triangles were already there, if you want to call it. Again, it's too vague. I'm just charitably interpreting it because we don't know what symbols they're talking about, whether it meant that, this, or
Yeah,
that.
that's why I said let's steel man it. Let's steel man it that these are symbols of maybe Satan, whatever, and still it fails because that's I think we have gone over these other prophecies, right? The tall buildings one, and then the eschatological ones, basically, right? And um, the one of the ones that we took up in our last prophetic stream or prophecies stream, we took four, but one of the one was that this child will not grow to be 100 years or something. Kathy, can you remind me what exactly the wordings are for those? But this child won't be able to see something, or
Yeah, this child
won't
won't
grow
grow old.
or won't grow old, right? And
Yeah.
so for that, then these guys say, no, 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 that's not saying that the end of times, but that hadith features in the chapter which says end of times, right? The end hour or the last hour. But these guys have to take that route. Don't know. He's talking about that child's hour, and then you have to figure out as to. I mean, then these guys have to do really mental gymnastics, real serious mental gymnastics to make that prophecy or make it fit as if that's a prophecy, but it doesn't mean exactly the end of times. It means end of time for that particular person. So, anyways, I think we should. Khadi, oh, Madin, have you finished your thought, or you want to add something? And Khadi, if you want to add something, otherwise, then we'll move on to our next
Yeah,
prophecy.
no, no, nothing further to add
Okay,
from my
yeah,
side.
yeah. Before we move on to our third prophecy, I have made the link public. Anybody who wants to join, have a conversation, please do so. Paul Rothwell Smith, if you want to join in, have a cordial conversation. We talk about religion in general, or philosophies, or worldviews in general, and put our opinions and get others' opinions, and you know uh, do a little bit of back and forth, friendly back and forth. So if you want to join in, please do. And until then, we'll critique the third one. Okay, so let's play this one.
Rock, and the Sahaba couldn't break the rock. So they called the Prophet ﷺ, who was physically very strong, and he came and he struck the rock. And what did he tell the Sahaba? He said, you're going to conquer Syria, you're going to conquer Persia, you are going to conquer Yemen. He made it very explicitly clear. And this is at the time when the Muslims were just in Medina and they're surrounded by 10,000 of their army. And there's no other Muslims in Arabia. He didn't tell them you're going to win against these 10,000. He said you're going to win against Rome and Persia, which is incredible when you think about it. Because the Munafiqs, they were the ones who were actually saying, this man talks about victory when we cannot go to the toilet without arrows being shot at us. So clearly, if you look at it from a historical point of view, we're not even at this stage where you have Rome and you have Persia and you have the time of the Caliphate where you have a strong central state. No, all of Islam was in one city and the Prophet ﷺ said this. Yet this is exactly what happened. There was a massive rock.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I think we have already answered in some sense the whole of this prophecy thing, right? I mean, okay, let's say this there is something like this. Give us a hadith that dates back to, because this is very time specific um, prophecy, quote unquote, you can say, right? Because it says you will go and conquer Persia, which historically we can say that the Muslim armies did conquer Persia in, I think, 636, or maybe 638, somewhere around that time. Uh, Muslim armies did conquer Byzantine as well, and that was the Battle of Yarmouk. So these battles did happen. The Arabian armies did conquer some of the land, some part of Jerusalem or Jerusalem, some part of Persia, Syria, and all those things. So these are historically documented. But where is this hadith? When was that written? Do we have any evidence that it was written in six? When was after 623 or somewhere around 623, between 623 to 632? Do we have any serious or because this is a big claim, right? So the evidence has to be really strong as well. Where is that evidence? If it's coming from a hadith written 200 years later, I'm sorry, you have to, raise an eyebrow for it because that's not an evidence. That's just still a claim because those things are written. Maybe somebody wrote it much later, thought, oh yes, we want it. My memory tells me that Prophet Muhammad did say this, right, 200 years back. Or I have a chain of narration. Maybe my father told me this. My father's father told me. It told him this, right? So these are still claims, in my opinion. Anyway, anybody else wants to take this up? Khali, Madan?
No, I would have brought up the same point that there is no reason for us to believe that this was written before uh, this hadith was written before the event actually happened. So this could all be because the event had happened and then people made up the story. Oh, this was actually already foreseen by the prophet. So yeah, I mean, this is this is not at all any sort of acceptable miracle for someone living 1400 years after you claim that the prophet said it, and then it happened probably in 15 years after that, and now after 1400 years ago we have to believe, I have to believe that no, prophet said it before this event actually happened. I have no way to verify that.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think, and that's
And
that's
if
one of the yeah. Sorry, Khali, go ahead.
and if they will claim that this is coming from an authentic, and they'll appeal to their hadith methodology where there is an authentic chain of narration and there is this ilmur rajal, the study of men, to identify who is authentic and not. Well, you Muslims themselves, the Muslim scholars themselves, don't consider a hadith authentic just because, let's say, I mean, assuming that their methodology of assessing the ilmur rajal, the study of men, whoever is there in that narration, they have somehow derived a way to authenticate that each person in that narration, whether or not he lived 2 generations before the person who's compiling that data, he has somehow determined that that person was very authentic, he was truthful, he had no reasons, no bias to tell a lie, and all of these things he was able to somehow determine that. Let's say, let me grant all of that all of this actually happened. you I mean, Muslim scholars themselves don't consider a hadith authentic just because the chain of narration is authentic. They check it, they check the matan or the content of the hadith to verify, okay, does this make sense or not? Or does it align with their, somehow, you could even say that does it align with their beliefs or not? So, if you have reason, you can reject a hadith which has come from an authentic chain of narration. Well, we can reject it too, if you, because what you have done is you have sort of admitted by the very study of matan, the study of content of a hadith, to verify whether a hadith is authentic or not. If you actually have to do that, then you have actually undermined your whole system of chain of narration and all of that. What that means is that this chain of narration process is not foolproof in any way. Fake hadiths or made up hadith can make their way in through seemingly authentic chain of narrations as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I tell this, Kelly, and you exactly the point that I wanted to go ahead next. You just stole the thunder, pretty much. But yeah, that was exactly the point I was gonna take up next. Is that where are you getting these things? What is your? I mean, you think if you claim that this is all coming from really reliable sources, what does that claim really hold up to the scrutiny? And it does not, because the whole of Hadith science is on shaky grounds. And uh, as you mentioned, there are so many problems. I think one of the things that I think, why is it that when you can have, because some of the problems when these apologists face is that, oh, this matan doesn't make sense to me, and and that's why probably it could be false. When somebody can fabricate matan, why can't they fabricate the whole sanad? Basically, that's the question. You just have to see that there were, I
Absolutely.
mean, even Bukhari's prologue says he found almost what 600,000 hadith, and from that he only chose maybe what 7,000 odd hadith probably. So that's a huge number. That's all you're talking about. Only 2% of what he collected, he picked pretty much, right? Not even 2%, less than 2% of that he picked, and that's just for Bukhari's collection. Same goes for Muslim. So all the Sahih Sitta pretty much is has that problem, right? There were many that they dropped, and sometimes that they don't give you the reason, but there were so many fabricated ones within those as well. That's why probably they were dropped. They said he left out, maybe because there were duplicates and all those things. But I find that very difficult to believe. By the way, Madin.
Yeah. So what I would say is let's strengthen the position and just forget the historical problems regarding.
Methodology, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
very
Let's
science.
just strengthen the position a little bit and um, think about this. I think we talked about it before as well. There is a definite selection effect issue as well. So the reason that we have to entertain these competing hypotheses is because the grand claim of a prophecy is a very high threshold to meet, meaning you have to exhaust all of the naturalistic ways of explaining things, right? You have to, because the whole point of a prophecy is very similar to a miracle, and therefore, in order to demonstrate a miracle, the reason why a miracle is astounding is because you can't explain it through any other means, right? Any other naturalistic means. That's why it's a miracle, right? You're trying to say that this something extremely counter reality has happened, extremely improbable, impossible has happened. The impossible has happened, right? Therefore, we have to start off. Sorry, I nearly dropped my phone. Then we have to start off with the general idea that a miracle is very rare, right? And therefore and that in order for this rare thing to occur, there's no other explanation to explain it. So that's why it's surprising. The strength of the argument, therefore, from miracles and prophecies is that something impossible or rare has happened, right? So it already starts off with the idea that this is a very, very highly unlikely thing, and that's why it's surprising to us. Therefore, God, right? Maybe it skips a few premises to get to God, right? So something very rare has happened. In order to show that something very rare has happened, you have to really, really, therefore, show that something rare has happened, and you can't really just say that this is. You can't. There can't be alternative explanations, more likely explanations, because if there are more alternative explanations that are more likely, then you can't appeal to the only possible explanation, which is that this was definitely a suspension of the laws of physics, divine intervention, and God has bestowed upon you or revealed this or bestowed upon you knowledge, whatever, right? So what are the competing explanations? So despite how ludicrous, here's one of the frameworks that we talked about in one of our previous streams, but I will talk about this later maybe. But in this situation, there is a naturalistic explanation, however ludicrous it may sound, right? That we know that actually works to explain certain feats. And I'll give you completely secular examples of this in a second, right? One is the selection effect or survivor effect, right? So assuming the historical methodology and everything is sound and tight, that this wasn't said after the events. This wasn't ambiguous. This wasn't something that was invented, or something like that. There wasn't no deception. This was recorded accurately and properly. There was no defects with the Hadith methodology. The Hadiths weren't recorded 200 years after all these events transpired. It was recorded. Let's hypothetically even accept that it was recorded prior to the event, during the event, or prior to the event, right? It wasn't 200 years after, 2 centuries years after. It was during the time or before the time of the specific event. Let's grant them that. Yeah. Still, it's subject to a likelier hypothesis of the selection effect or the survivor effect. So and people, you can Google this or whatever. Philo, do you want to Google it as well whilst we talk about? I think this is a very, like I said, I want to reiterate, this is an interesting way of engaging with our audience now, because we can now be interactive. We'll put it up on the screen as well. The survivor effect is when, for example, let's say you conduct a study, and in that study, you want to test whether or not people are reacting to the drug properly, or something, or the strong or the healthy enough. If for example, everybody in the hospital that's being tested dies, right, who are weak, and you're left with only the survivors, then what does it look like? It looks like, for example, that drug is very, very effective and safe, because everybody else has passed away. But that would be subject to the survivor effect. We want to know the ratio. We want to know the people who were killed by the drug, and we also want to know the people who were not killed by the drug, to figure out the actual the statistical safety of the drug. If you only look at the winners, the people who didn't die, that would be a survivorship bias. So a good methodology would look at the whole population, the data. They won't just look at the survivors. Now, applied to the sphere of these kind of what we're talking about when it comes to prophecies, what I would have to say is that in the situation of conquest and domination and war, almost all historical military figures, they almost prophesy their success.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, they say.
I mean, you can infer that by the very fact that they entered that war. You can infer that they believed, or even no matter how unlikely it might have seemed at the time, they believed somehow that they'll be able to survive it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and somebody or the other would have said that yes, we will win it, because that's the belief that you still have to instill in your army, right? Without that, and if you lose it, then that's oh yes, we tried, right? Good try. Yeah, tough luck. And
if people still are not able to understand this, tell me if it makes sense for a general of a war to tell the people that, oh, we might lose this war. Don't worry about it. Do you think that that's a message that they're going to give to his soldiers?
Yes.
You would always say, we are here we are going to win it. Come on, let's do it.
We will win it, and there's no even we might win it. Win it.
It's not even may, not even right? Might.
May or
yeah.
It's just we will win it. That's the kind
of thing. So in that way, every general that enters or every what you call army who enters a war, who fights a war, they fight that with making a prophecy indirectly that they're going to win it. And then if you only see the survivors or the winners, you'll say, oh, you see, if you look at all the winners, actually they all prophesized correctly that they were going to win this war.
Right.
Well, and see, what about the losers? They also made that prophecy, but they lost it.
Yeah, totally.
That is what you have to do.
So, like I wanted to mention, like you guys have explained it, some of the, like I wanted to explain, there's plenty of secular example of this happening all the time. It is an inference, but it's a very well-grounded inference, because we see it everywhere. Sportsmen do it, football teams do it, basketball teams, cricket teams, countries do it. Even in modern wars, countries do it. Yeah, or every single country, almost every single country that you see in a modern war, at some point, at some place, they mention their ability to become triumphant, that they will conquer that particular region of the world, that they will do this, they will enter that. Even George Bush, right? Even when he invaded Iraq, he spoke not just in what they want to do. They spoke in almost prophetic terms what they've already done, right? that sort of kind of conviction, and you see it even in modern day wars. In right now, that's happening in the Middle East. I don't need to talk about it. The people say, for example, we will do this and we'll go. I don't want to go into the details because I don't want to wade into these political issues. But people say that we're going to do this, and then they do it. It wasn't a prophecy. The survivorship bias is that a lot of countries don't win. A lot of countries do fail. A lot of football teams do lose, right? In the Champions League final, for example, when two teams are playing, most of their players are saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and a lot of these teams are failing, right? It's the winners who also say it, then who win end up looking prophetic because it looks like they predicted their victory. Reality is we're very bad at predicting these things, right? That's why most of the survivorship bias reveals that most of the predictions come false. It's just the selection effect where we end up with the winners, and then they back project, and in hindsight it looks like because they said it before they won, they got it right. Right?
No,
and we see this all the time.
It's more of a case of harping on it, basically. Right?
Mhm.
Once you win it, you'll keep harping on it. Yes, see, we said it that we'll win, and we won, and that's a human nature. It's not just with any other army. Or not even armies. Basically, it's a human nature. You'll see that everybody will remember their wins, and when they have predicted the wins, but nobody would try to remember that they had claimed. And this is the same thing we are talking about, the survivor effect, right?
Yes.
Even if they had claimed that they will win and they lost, they'll just quickly forget that they had even predicted it. So that's going to happen all throughout humanity. I mean,
Yeah,
within
it
the
happens in
armies, within in
almost every
tribes.
field, every domain of human enterprise, of every field of human excellence in any endeavor. Even like boxing. I used this example before. This has actually happened, and this is documented history. Mike Tyson's trainer. What was his name now? What was Mike Tyson's trainer's name? He's a very
Can't remember.
Something Eddie? What's his name? Eddie
no,
something or?
the old man. He trained Floyd Patterson as well. I forgot what.
No, I'm
Just Google it.
totally. Um, all right, move on with your point.
Yeah. So
Diamato.
Yeah, Cus Diamato. That's it. I don't know how I've forgotten that. It's a very popular person that I know of, and I've mentioned it almost every other week. But Cus Diamato, told by Mike Tyson that you are going to be. This is in his book as well. Tyson's book, D'Amato's book. It's on videos in Mike Tyson documentaries. D'Amato said, "You are going to be the youngest heavyweight champion. You will become the youngest heavyweight champion of the world." Yeah. This was before he even started doing his amateur boxing. When he discovered Mike Tyson and he was still training in the gym. He said, you will become the next heavyweight champion of the world, and you will become the youngest heavyweight champion of the world. Then he trained him and he became that. Now, wait a minute. The question is, if we're supposed to accept in the context of Islam this prediction, why should we not accept in the context of Cus D'Amato, which is documented history, that he's a prophet, that he was inspired by God? Why not? It has the exact same sort of kind of structure, right? A very rare thing. I mean, how many boxers are becoming heavyweight champions? Let alone the youngest heavyweight champion. It's very specific, right? But nobody's thinking Cus D'Amato is a prophet. Right? How do we explain that though? How could we explain this entirely secular event? Because D'Amato never pretended to be a prophet. He never pretended to be Muhammad. He said anything like that. Well, we can't explain it. It's because many, many trainers say this. In the gym, there's plenty of boxers who get told that you're going to become the heavyweight champion of the world, particularly good ones, particularly amazing ones, particularly talented ones, particularly the ones that look like they have a genuine ability about them. A lot of them don't. Survivor effect, right? But the ones who do, then you can back project and it looks almost like a narrative, like it was a screenplay, like it was directed by like some sort of unearthly figure, like a miracle, but it wasn't. It was just the selection effect at play. It's a well-known phenomena, survivorship bias. Yeah, in the millions and millions of boxers throughout time. Yeah, and it probably is in the millions when you take decades into account. There's plenty of boxing gyms with boxing figures and icons and sports leaders and trainers telling their boxers that you're going to become the heavyweight champion. Vast majority don't. A small portion do. And because it's said so many times, that explains why these predictions seemingly come true when almost prophetically, when reality is just a matter of coincidences, right? Or not necessarily even coincidences. It's a matter of intelligent thinking. Sometimes you just get it right because the population is very large. The law of large numbers. Remember, we spoke about that. The law of large numbers, selection, these things naturally, therefore, allows this to happen statistically. And you can do that. I mean, you can do. You don't have to even think about it from a boxer's perspective. Even your parents. Your parents sometimes say you'll become a doctor. How many people has become a doctor? Not everybody. But some of those people who did become a doctor had a parent who said you'll become a doctor, and they did become a doctor. Was it a prophecy? No, it wasn't. It was just
no,
the
but
selection.
I mean, there's another problem with this, right? When parents say that you'll become a doctor, then the kid goes on to, that's in his psyche now. He wants to become a doctor, and he'll put even more efforts towards it. So it's not just like it's a blank prophecy, right? This will happen. It's a random chance that will just come true out of nothing. There is a concerted effort that's being put there, and the same is true for armies as well. Let's say, even if Prophet Muhammad did say this, that he'll conquer this, maybe this was back of their minds when they were fighting. Oh yes, we have to win this, right? And probably at the time Byzantine and Persians were already so weak because of the fighting between those two, and it's documented, right, that then that Persians had defeated uh, the Romans before the Arabs took both of them down, but they had weakened each other thoroughly, pretty much. So this is nothing, this is nothing out of ordinary, right? Maybe the probability, if you take out, then still much higher probability than something really out of the blue would have happened. A miraculous would have happened.
Winston Churchill predicted his victories. So I'm not. I'm not sure why this should be considered a prophecy. I'm just being intellectually consistent because you have to think in an open-minded way, and I don't think many of the Muslims do that when they make these arguments, right? Because if this is meant to be the methodology as to how we are to arrive at a prophecy, then you ought to consistently apply it to all these other secular figures, non-religious figures who get these things right. But the fact that non-religious figures get these things right as well gives you real reasons to be cautionary when it comes to accepting it for Muhammad as well, because it can just happen in the world. It's what it shows is that these sort of coincidental prophetic kind of things happening is very commonplace, and it happens throughout the world, right? And that is a point in favor of naturalism, showing that trans religion, cross culture, cross society, cross ideology, these sort of prophetic coincidences or prophetic self-fulfilling prophecies or selection effects can happen. And if it can happen throughout culture, then I wouldn't be surprised then why it happens in Islamic culture. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just wanted to go through this slide once, and just wanted to let everybody know if they want to join in for a conversation, a cordial conversation. I think link is already made public, and it's pinned as well. So if you want to join, have a conversation, please join the stream. And if not, then we'll keep on critiquing other prophecies. Kelly, do you have anything in mind that we should pick up? I think instead of prophecies, I have one video. I think you remember I shared it in the group maybe yesterday or today. I don't remember. But that Islam Hakim's conversation, right? And maybe we can just critique that,
What is it about?
Kelly. It's again. I think it's about contingency or something similar to that, right? I think he likes to talk a lot about contingencies, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's one of our favorite subject as well. So
And
maybe I thought maybe
it's my favorite subject.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure if it
Yours
goes up.
yeah. I'm probably second to you, but
Uh-huh.
pretty close as well. But yeah, I grant you that you have studied much more than I have. But let's go
I mean, I
through this.
won't claim that, but yeah, it's you can say that if you want to.
Yeah, no. This is in all seriousness, and I do seriously think that you know about it more than I do,
Yeah.
and
Because
even
I
yeah,
think, I mean, maybe Mahadan and you might disagree, but I think it's for me, it seems to be the best argument that the theists have, and I think we should engage with the strongest argument that they present. You can
no,
always the weakest argument or the
yeah,
weaker arguments, but I think it's the strongest argument that you
that
should
theist
definitely
have. Yeah, I
engage
think
against. Yeah,
maybe
I'm not sure
maybe
if you would
I'm
agree with that, that's the strongest argument or not, but I think so.
yeah, among the arguments that they have, probably that stands out.
Yeah,
Maybe some people think that fine tuning argument is one of the best.
yeah.
In recent yeah, in a recent interview, Joe Schmidt was having some. I don't know if you have seen that video. Joe Schmidt is having a conversation with a couple of other philosophers, young philosophers who are pursuing their PhDs, and he was wearing a hat of an atheist. There was one person who was wearing a hat of a Christian, and then an agnostic, right? And he said that fine tuning is one of the strongest arguments he feels that is out there. And
Hmm.
I always I quite
I
don't
think
get
yeah,
it as to why.
it's in the top
No,
three. I think so. I
yeah,
think
but
it's a top.
I'm not
It's
quite
in my
sure
top
I
three.
buy that. I'm not quite sure I buy that. I think contingency is up there, including maybe part of Kalam. But then other than that, I don't think there is anything that uh, ontological is like really. I'm not quite sure what to make of it.
Ontological and transcendental. I think
Transcendental, yeah,
they're in the lower tiers.
they're in the lower tiers
I
probably.
think it's the F tier, right? There is like
Yeah, is
the
the
lowest
F
one is the F
tier
tier.
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, F
These
tier,
go
yeah,
into the F tier. Yeah.
yeah. Moral argument at one time when I hadn't we hadn't formed this group. I hadn't studied as much probably 2012, 2013. I used to think comparatively highly of moral argument, right? But then having a few conversations with you and Mahadan changed that perspective pretty much, right? So yeah,
Yeah. I think it's somewhere in between. I mean, it's easily debunkable.
yeah,
I
it's
mean, and
easily
when I say
it
this,
seems easily
yeah.
debunkable these days.
Yeah, but still, I think it's in between. It's not at the F level where
Yeah,
you know
it's
you'll keep
probably
the
yeah, it
ontological
can't
and the
surpass
transcendental
F
argument.
level. Yeah, it can't
Yeah, at
surpass
least
those
it's
ontological
like
and
this. When
transcendental.
and I think I'll try to speak in the legal language, and maybe Mahadin and I might use the wrong terms, but when you go to when you take a case to the court, there's an initial hearing to see whether this case even stands anywhere, whether the judge should even allow this case to be heard. So I don't know what it's called, right? It's like it's where you actually see whether there's any valid case or not, and then once the judge decides, okay, there is some merit to this case, so now let's proceed with the actual case. So ontological and transcendental, I think, fail at that very point.
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't know. Only Madin will
I'm not sure
tell
what the right
what.
jargons are for that.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
there's
Mahadan,
different
Even I'm not.
jargons. There's different jargons. You might call it a pre-trial trial. You might call it a
yeah,
grand jury in America. You
right,
might call it. So it has
yeah,
different. Like in the UK, like if it's a criminal trial, then you don't really have. You may have like a. You may like have a coroner's court in the case of like a death. Where you try to establish the cause of death, whether there's a merit to foul play, That's one type of quote. And then I know this is like a side issue and you don't really want the answer, but I may as well give it. So and you might have pre-trial investigation where you would submit your case to the Crown prosecution, and we don't really have a trial, but you have trial for that, but it's more like a pre-trial investigation. So those are the things. So there's different words for it, but yeah, go on. Sorry.
Right. So let's walk through this framework and see. I think see we have already talked about it so much that everybody who listens to our channel now knows that this is the framework that we speak about as a logical philosophical framework that you should adopt when you're talking to a theist, when they start talking to you about this it doesn't matter what flavor of religion they espouse to. It doesn't matter. You can bring this framework in front of anybody who says, oh yes, the prophecy was that uh, this lord will conquer Ayodhya, or this or that, right? Sorry, I'm bringing different examples from different religions, but this holds true for across the religions, right? And so what is this framework, right? So number one is the prediction must have been made clearly and demonstrably prior to the predicted future event of or occurrence, right? Of course, right? This seems like, oh yes, it's a mundane point, right? I mean, everybody knows that this has to be true. Number two is the prediction must clearly and unambiguously. By the way, just to mention this, this is something that we got from Aaron Fesser, the person whom Hamza Tzortzis and Mohammed
Yeah,
Hijab
and he's
debated in
credited.
Johannes. Yeah, so
He's
he
credited at the
wrote it
bottom.
down. Yeah,
Yeah.
he created and he's credited at the bottom, right? So the prediction must clearly and unambiguously be intended to be taken as a prediction of a future event or occurrence, right? Of course, yeah, we grant that as well. But as you go down in the list, you'll see what we are talking about, right? The predicted future event or occurrence must not be of mundane, quotidian, or predictable or banal nature, right? So this is the crux of it, right? I mean, you can say that my friend will hop on a train, right? I mean, it's a very mundane claim that he will hop on a train in next 10 days, right? Very highly likely that somebody is going somewhere and he'll hop on a train. So unless until it's very unlikely event that, oh yes, my friend who's Munir, and he'll just go and he's gonna be landing on moon on next Thursday. Now that's a huge prophecy, right? So it doesn't have to be mundane. Maybe it doesn't have to be as grandiose as I'm talking about, but yes. So you get the gist. But I mean, for claim that it's coming from a god, I think it doesn't have to be. It can be, and nothing is grandiose, right? Even uh, landing on the moon next Thursday is not a grandiose claim, right? Number four is the prediction must be satisfied by a single clear and verifiable event or occurrence. Of course, this has to be true. You can't have multiple events fulfill that prophecy, which means that it's a very highly probable event because you can have very many events that can fulfill that. And eventually, that means that the probability of it happening was very high already. So this is one of the point as well, which is very important. Number five is the prediction must not be open to interpretation and must be unequivocal and precise. I think this point must have been mentioned somewhere up there, right? Maybe point number two or point number three, that the prediction has to be, as it happens in many cases, even in the case of Nostradamus, and maybe I've only heard about it. I'm not 100% sure what I've heard is true or not. It is said that his prophecies that were said to he has, whatever he predicted, almost everything came out to be true. But then I've also heard that his whatever he had written was so vague that you could fit almost any event into those, and that would become as a that event would come out as true. And so the prophecy, if you take the vagueness out, then would become an event, right? Thali has dropped out. Has he said why? Or maybe it's just an issue
Uh,
with the.
he might be back. Don't worry about it.
So, yeah, so that's number five. Number six is the prediction must not be in respect to respect of some event or occurrence that some person or group of person is already actively trying to bring about, or having heard the prediction will actively try to bring about. And this is very important. I think we did talk about this in our tallest building prophecy, right? And that tallest building prophecy, I mean, if somebody, or maybe even which one was the one that we talked about earlier, right? That a group of people can, collectively work on creating something, right? That if they have a belief about it, a very serious and devout belief about it, they'll work towards it to make it true. As if I think there is a hadith that uh, on upon Kaaba there'll be a sundial or something, sun's shadow, the clock's shadow will hover over it, and something like that. And if somebody has read that hadith, and I'm vaguely remembering that hadith, and somebody has looked and or a group of people have looked at that hadith, then they'll say, okay, the clock means that tower. So what is that tallest building near Kaaba? I think Khali can tell me. There is a clock, right? And there's a symbol of a moon on top of it, right? There is a very, very tall building, right? And when there is sun is going down, then that makes a shadow on the Kaaba, right? And then
Mm.
somebody could say, oh yeah, 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 that hadith has, that prophecy has come out to be true. But whoever read that hadith probably already knew, okay, if I built a building like that, it will have a shadow, and because I know that hadith, this will match that hadith, right? So that's the point number 6 that we are talking about. Anyway, anybody wants to add anything to it? Otherwise, yeah, Kelly, Madan.
No, no, nothing more to add to this. I think these points are quite comprehensive.
Right, right.
So
Okay, so
we have we do have a comment here, which I found funny. Who is he talking about?
Maybe me?
I don't know.
I don't mind if
So
you critique my English. I'm okay with that. Critique my argument though. Our arguments is what you need to critique now.
yeah,
Doesn't
but
matter
I'm not sure
whether
what you
if you're able
what
to
I
if
don't.
you're able to understand our argument, that's fine with me, even if my English is bad.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think these people understand what they mean by bad English. An accent is not bad English. Bad English is
Mm,
not necessarily just an accent. Maybe you can
mm,
stretch it to saying pronunciation of words, maybe, right?
yeah.
If you're not comprehensible, but both of you are entirely comprehensible. We don't even notice. I don't even notice your accents anymore. You definitely have an accent, but I think by good English we really mean many different things: proper grammar, proper form, articulation, eloquence, accuracy, being able to be concise, having a breadth and depth of various different words, and that would be, So I don't think people should just be attacking people based on their accents, because the only difference between you and only difference between Philo and Kylie versus everybody else is that you guys have an different way of different accents. That's it. There's no other difference. In fact, I would say that you guys are more articulate than probably 40 to 50% of British people on the street, or even American people on the street. I think that matters more than how you pronounce. But let's just look at Peter Norman, for example. I am not, in my mind, neither of you guys have done any English language errors, right? Yet this guy has written a comment with errors in it, right? For example, he didn't capitalize British. If you want to be pedantic, yeah. If you want to be anal about it, he didn't capitalize British. He didn't capitalize English, right? And those are honestly, those are not real crimes at all when you write. But if you're gonna
yeah,
be,
yeah, I think you can notice so many mistakes in his
yeah,
writing, right?
yeah,
And if he's, he thinks that English is bad, perfectly fine. We don't even claim that. That's not our selling point. Our selling point is, or our intention here is to come and articulate our thoughts. And I think we are able to do it pretty effectively. Not 100% effectively. We could be better. Maybe we are at 60%. Maybe we want to be somewhere around 80%, 85%, but we're getting there. And that's not the only thing we want to do. At least, I mean, not the only thing that we want to be the best in English, right? So I'm not quite sure what Peter Norman has in his mind, right? All right, yeah. Uh, Given too much attention to somebody who didn't deserve that much attention. All right, what is I am? I have not seen any other channel exposing, especially Islamic apologetics claims using pure reason and philosophy, especially in Urdu Hindi. Danke
This guy
schön. Thank
seems,
you very much.
I think this guy seems to be a Hindu Urdu watcher. So I suspect.
Yeah. We have seen him in our Hindi Urdu
Ah.
streams. All right, yeah. Peter Norman, you are more than welcome to join in. No offense taken. Perfectly fine. You have your thoughts, and if you think we we have certain problems, perfectly fine. But if you have an argument to refute our arguments, or maybe you don't even want to, challenge our arguments, you just want to come and have a cordial conversation, you're more than welcome to do so. And yes, once again, no offense taken. All right, there's another comment. Uh, yeah, Bukhari, maybe Prophet knows that his Lord will give him instead of you wise better than you. So this verse, the same was revealed. All right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are a few instances where it is said that now Muslims say that God, I don't know, God agreed with Umar, and God knew that Umar would say. I mean, they would say that yeah, God always knew that Umar would say it that way. But yeah, there are at least three instances that generally Muslims say that where what was revealed in Quran actually was mentioned by Hazrat Umar first. Not maybe in the exact words, but that was what he said was actually maybe paraphrased in the Quran.
Yeah, that's true. And there's another one. What's his name? Abdullah ibn Abi Sarah, right? Or he added some words. So yeah, I think we are talking about prophecy. So maybe that's a very different point than this one. But yeah, in terms of, I just remembered. It just occurred to me that um, even the tall buildings prophecy, it is written in one of the authentic books, I think probably Sahih Muslim, that this prophecy, oh no, it's about Surah Rum, basically the defeat of the Romans, right? Or the victory of the Romans, right? It was this what was that? Sorry,
Sorry,
I
what
had to
was what?
cough. I had to cough. So
Uh,
this verse was revealed later on or something after 629, because
yeah, yeah, yeah,
victory
yeah.
of
There's one hadith.
Romans took place in 629 or 628, and this verse was revealed in 630 or something like that. There is a hadith about it, right?
There's a Sahih hadith. I
And
mean,
it's a
when I say
Sahih
Sahih,
hadith.
it is
Yeah,
there in
it's a
Bukhari or probably in Muslim, at
Muslim,
least
right?
in one of these two books, which
Right,
says
right.
that where according to which these verses were revealed when the Romans had actually won.
One, right, right,
That is when these verses were revealed. So
right,
yeah, I
right.
mean, if their own authentic sources contradict on this topic, and just imagine, um, and just think about what's happening over here, because they often quote tawatur or mass transmission as something almost irrefutably true, right? They say that it cannot be refuted. If it's something is mass transmitted, it cannot logically be refuted, or should not be refuted at all. It should be accepted as true. And you just think about it, if a prophecy like that was actually done and it turned out to be true, then Muslims would often be, there would be unanimous sort of uh, transmission of this fact that Prophet actually made this prophecy and it turned out to be true. and this is
Yeah,
what
I think
happened. Now, this sort of transformation you would expect throughout all Muslims, but you are saying that not only was this mentioned in, let's say, one of the Zaif hadith or one of the weak hadith, that a Sahih hadith actually got it wrong, and where it was believed that based on that hadith, this verse actually was revealed when the Roman had already won. So now, if something is so commonly known, and which I think we should expect, if a prophecy actually turned out to be true, it should be commonly known, because it was one of the few prophecies which was time bound. I think maybe there are only one or two which are time bound. I cannot even think of another one which is actually time bound, which happened in the life of the prophet. But
yeah,
yeah, if
totally right.
so, seemingly, if this was only one or two or of the few prophecies which was time bound and which turned out to be true during the time of the prophet, then I think people should have mass reported this fact. And then if something is mass reported and some people believe, okay, this happened, this prophecy turned out to be true, then it does not make any sense for a hadith like this to come through, where it is according to which these verses were revealed when the Roman had already won. So it does not make any sense. Maybe, I mean, it might make some sense. Somehow it slipped through, but generally speaking, it should not be the case.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah, and
at least
yeah,
at the very least, what you can say is this: your own
and
materials, your own authentic materials disagree on this fact. So
yeah, yeah,
don't
and
don't make it
whoever,
don't make it obligatory on us to believe it if you don't believe your own sources.
yeah, and whoever the muhaddis was for this hadith, right? How did he not spot that problem, right? That this is gonna go against us,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
he still put it in, right? So something fishy is going on. And one more thing, I think, Kelly, you just touched upon it, so I'm probably, digressing on it. And the point is, you made a very, strong point about this hadith science and the isnad and the isnad system, and sanad has to be strong, multiple chain of narrations and all those things. For hadith, which is the secondary text, they require this strong scrutiny. It's like airtight scrutiny, right? Do you have the same for the Quran? That is your primary text. What do you have as, uh, anything, even 10% of what you do for hadith literature? Show me that.
Right.
Show me sanat for all these uh, 6,600, whatever, how many ever you have, right? Versus, I think there is
Right.
nothing. I don't think there is anything, right? There is
Yeah,
no, I
I
mean,
don't think so. Maybe I might be missing something, but yeah, I don't think so. There's
yeah,
anything.
there is nothing. At least in my knowledge, there is nothing, right? So yeah, I mean, this is. I don't think they realize that how big a hole they are digging for themselves when they go into this. For them, no, because we have traces of, the Qurans from earlier times, from the Sana manuscripts, or the Birmingham manuscripts, or the Tashkent, or the Samarkand, or you know Parisio Petropolitanus, or whatever, right, you may have, right? And that's their argument. It dates back all the way to early part of 6th century, but that's a lie, by the way. There is no
Y-
complete manuscript that dates back all the way to that
Right.
time period. But anyways, yeah, I
Yeah,
digress.
I just
Let's steer
yeah,
back.
just one more point. Maybe I don't know if we touched upon this when we were discussing this hadith about Roman victory, or this prophecy about Roman victory earlier in our earlier streams. Is that the word, and they often quote this as a prophecy which was very time bound, like 3 to 9 years. It should have happened in 3 to 9 years. Now, the word that has been used in Quran is not exactly 3 to 9 years. It's a word which they say that it means 3 to 9 years. I think it's sinin. I might be wrong, but yeah, maybe it's
Yeah, it's
sinin.
Sinin. Yeah,
Sinin.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
you see, the problem with that is, if it hadn't turned out to be true, I think Muslims would have done what they have done in other cases as well. They would have said, well, you know what? Sineen also means this. Maybe few more years, maybe 20 years or 50 years or 100 years or whatever. It
Yeah,
just
it's like
means,
this.
yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't exclusively mean 3 to 9 years. Yeah, it's the most common usage, but Quran does not always appeal to the most common usage. It sometimes, according to them, they will say that it sometimes does not appeal to that common meaning, rather a very rare meaning. So they would appeal to that. They could appeal to that, and they'll say, Sinin also could mean that, and therefore, even if it did not turn out to be true, well, actually, it ultimately might have, they would have given it in a way. They also have this, I would say, even if it would have happened, even if Roman would have won 200 years later, they would have said, Sinin, from the point of view of well, I don't know what it actually means. If it means, let's say, few years, and they would say, you know what, Sinin means
it's
few
Sinin
years,
means a short period of
yeah,
time, very
short
short
period of it.
period.
And you would say,
Yeah,
from the perspective of the entire history of human, it's a very short period of time. And they would even refer to, I mean, I'm just imagining. Let's just imagine that this not happen, and Muslims will have these kind all these kind of excuses. For example, they'll say there's a hadith which says that the me, meaning the prophet, and the what you'll call the day of judgment, the Qiyamah, day of Qiyamah, are like these two fingers. Like he would show his two fingers together, and you would say that, oh, you know what that means? It means that in the overall age of humans, it would appear that this is very close. For 1400 years would appear as if or maybe the over the entire age of earth, the 1400 years are nothing. So that is what prophet meant. So they could say that sinin just means short period of time, which means in this case it could mean 1000 years or maybe 2000 years, even if it was required,
yeah.
because
It's that
it's short,
word is
it's very
akin.
short
Yeah,
period of time. Yeah, it's very
yeah.
short period of time.
Yeah, that word is akin to yom, right? You could take it to be a day. You could
Yeah,
take
yeah,
it
you
to
could say that.
be
Yeah, yeah.
you
That
could
the most
take it
common
to be
usage
a
of yom is
galaxy year.
this, but it can
Yeah,
also mean a period of time. So, don't say that necessarily it means day. It could mean anything else as well. And that is what they're going to say that it means in case of yom. So, if they could appeal to this sort of excuses, then, there is always this, they will have this kind of excuse. So, it doesn't, um, I mean, this actually weakens their, even if you say that this is what actually happened, it would sort of weaken their case. You'd say, this happened, but if you're saying that, if it did not happen, then it would have disproven prophethood and all of that, you would say, no, you could always have made an excuse for this, or this kind of excuse. So, even if, even if they appeal to the understanding that the Sahaba had, they would have said, Sahaba could have understood it incorrectly. They could have said that, oh, let's say if I say that, Sirin could mean a short period of time, not 3 to 9 years. They could appeal to the fact that this is actually mentioned in the Hadith that the Sahaba actually understood this as 3 to 9 years. Well, I would say still you could claim that, okay, you could say that actually Sahaba did not understand it correctly. This can happen as well, and you could appeal to that, or they could, unless they say no, Sahaba could never have understood the Quran incorrectly. Whatever they understood was the absolute truth. There was no difference in that. Yeah, if this is what they want to claim,
yeah. I
but then they'll
think
have to prove it.
Cali, just to keep ourselves on clear. I think that word is probably not sinin. Is it bidain or something? Maybe I'm
Sorry,
that word is not. I don't think that word is sinin.
I might be wrong. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
might be wrong.
It's probably. Is there a word like bidain or bid?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
I
Yeah,
can check it out. I can
yeah,
check
yeah.
it out. Don't worry.
It's
Just give me a minute.
yeah. It's Surah Room
Yeah,
30,
it's Surah Room. I
30,
think
30,
it's one of the
30,
initial verses.
30.4, I guess.
In 3 to 9 years. Yeah. It's sorry. Biz I. It's
Bizai,
Biz E. Yeah. P Biz E
Bizai,
C9.
Bizai,
Yeah, Sinin. Yeah,
Bizai.
I could. Yeah, that's why what I thought. Sinin means ears. because we have the similar word in Urdu as sun. It's we use the word same one. This word sun for
It's
a ear. Yeah,
bidai,
busy sini.
bidai.
Fi busy sini. Yeah, busy.
Yeah.
Busy is the word.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So apologies for that
Yeah,
incorrect.
sorry for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, otherwise, what you said is correct. I think that's you'll find that apologists doing that. Anyway, I think what do we have? We have a couple of more comments from IM. Please discuss Sahih Muslim. Hold on, let me just do this. Please discuss Sahih Muslim 157C. Which one is that? 157C. That numbering it doesn't strike me anything. The Prophet prophesies that Arabia will become green one day and there will be rivers and meadows, which is now artificially being done. Yeah, I think that falls into the same category of what we said that collectively a group of people can bring about a change in making their belief come true, right? Rather than their prophecies being true, right? So that's the difference. I don't know if anyone of you wants to add anything to it. I think yes,
Let's
this is
do
the
another
same one.
prophecy. Let's
Yeah.
do another one more prophecy and call it a day.
I don't think I have anything else unless you have, right? I was thinking maybe we should just do a closing here.
Are you
What do you
telling me
think,
there's
Kelly?
no? Are you telling me that we've debunked every single prophecy of Islam?
No, we have, but I don't have
It was
anyone
that
in my
easy.
mind.
It was that easy in
No, I mean
is that
I don't
all?
have a video. I mean
Is
I
that it?
remember a few prophecies by heart, but then we need to look at the maybe a video clip and which I don't have.
Calling all Muslims out there. Is that it? Is that all you have?
Right.
I'm left here. I'm not even
That's the
taking my
best.
pants off. I'm not.
That's the best
I'm
you
not
can
even
give.
taking my pants off. It is. Sorry.
Which is the Khali? Which prophecy did you consider to be the strongest? You know, back in your days, probably.
Back in my day, the strong. I used to be a believer of scientific miracle. I'm embarrassed to say that now, but I I think I was exposed to this prophecies part quite late. So I actually used to believe in the scientific miracle. So
Let me ask you a question, Ghali. So, when you actually believed in the scientific, I think we all at once upon a time perhaps thought the
yeah,
scientific argument. Like when I first heard the scientific miracles argument, it was mainly from Zakir Naik, and my
yeah,
brain was so not tuned
blown
to
away.
it, right? That I just couldn't even think and fathom of an alternative explanation. Like how would
Yeah, yeah,
say this? I just didn't realize. I just wasn't smart enough. My brain just didn't have the acrobatics enough to think clearly. Like the obvious question would be, wait a minute, was it actually a miracle? Was it actually not known at the time? I just kind of accepted the premise. Like how could a 7th century man know, let's say, like the Earth, planetary motion or whatever it's predicted? How could like the moon does this or that?
No. I think
Or
his
how could
favorite is the expansion of the universe, right?
expansion? No, yeah, not just that.
yeah.
The Big Bang, the
The
Big
Big
Bang.
Bang, yeah, the
The
Big
Big
Bang,
Yeah,
Bang, the
yeah.
and I just
expansion, all of these. Yeah,
yeah, and I remember I remember clearly why I
Suryandiya, right?
fell for it, even if it was only for 1 week, right? Even yeah, it's because I just wasn't smart enough to even like I didn't even question the fact. I didn't read it myself. I just took what Zakir Naik said to be legitimate, right? Zakir Naik got on a pedestal on a podium and he said something about a particular verse about the earth and the sun being one and then being cluster thunder, and therefore this is the Big Bang and this is what the science says. And science only found this out a couple of years ago, whatever, a decade ago or decades ago, and this was known centuries ago, right? And I didn't go and check the scientific literature. I didn't even go check the Arabic. I didn't go check what these things meant. I didn't look at whether or not it was actually not known at the time, like whether or not there were other cultures who spoke in this specific way. It didn't even occur to me to try, right? I just acknowledged that this guy's saying something. That was my shortcoming. Soon as I encountered obvious common sense objections. Almost instantly, I was like, "Whoa, that's false, isn't it?" That was all it took. Soon as I encountered soon as one, the mystique of the scientific miracles was the idea that no one knew at the time. As soon as I found out one culture knew, it shattered straight away. My confidence just went boop down. Of oh, wait a minute, I've been fooled. Almost as though I saw a magic trick, and then somebody explained me the trick, and then I just knew straight away it was a trick, right? For some reason, though, there's lots of Muslims who continue to be illusioned by the trick, yeah, and never become disillusioned by it. They continue to remain in the illusion for years and years. I've never been like that, so I don't know what it feels like to be like that. Were you like that? I don't know. I really want to know how your mind worked when you saw
You
these
you
things.
know when I realized that there were counters to these scientific miracle whatever claims. That was the debate when I saw between Richard Carrier and Rajab Ali. I don't know if you remember that. This was
Yeah, I
back
do. I
probably
do.
in
Yeah.
2008 or 2009, maybe sometime around that, I guess, right? And so that's when I realized that there are things prior to the claims in the Quran that these things were the humans are made of water and all those things. Every living thing is made of water. And that's when in that debate, then I realized that Richard Carrier was talking about Thales, right, the Greek scientist uh, from the fourth or fifth BC. And then I realized, oh yeah, 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 I didn't think in that direction at all earlier. Now then it started opening me up into thinking in those directions. But for Zakir Naik, I think his three or four favorite, miracles or scientific miracles were embryology, this this Big Bang expansion of the universe, and then also the moon and the sun orbit, right? Those were his favorite, pretty much, right? That you know, round Earth was predicted in the Quran, pretty much, right? So yeah, I think those were the things that struck me, and I think
So,
there are a couple of others as well in the
yeah,
scientific. There are
Philo,
tons of.
I did ask Kylie a question. I do want to hear his answer. Like, what sustained the illusion of the scientific miracles?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For me, the illusion was sustained because I actually did not look at those verses even critically, right? Like, and actually, I never actually looked at these verses in detail. I had been reading Quran and even with translation, but you don't actually memorize everything. I just could recall that, oh yeah, this verse does say something like that. And yeah, Zakir Naik has mentioned that, has given that translation as well. And you'd say, yeah, I mean, it makes, yeah, this seems to be referring to the Big Bang. But then you think about things, and I mean, I used to think, okay, I did not, I somehow later realized, okay, why am I thinking that there is heaven and there is earth at the beginning of the Big Bang? Why do they exist at that time? They don't. So then what does it mean for God to say, okay, they were there and then they were separated? How does that in any way mean, or be, how could that anyway be referring to the Big Bang? The earth did not exist. Then why are you saying it? You could say, and then I could say, then I would have to use mental gymnastics to say, okay, you know what, earth means, maybe earth means matter. And I have been, embarrassingly enough, I have maybe had that phase for a while as well. I would say, you know what, earth means matter in this, and heaven means all of this energy. So basically, this is what if you look at it that way, then you could say that, oh, this is what Big Bang did.
There,
And later
yeah,
I later realized, why the hell am I equating earth with matter, all matter, and heaven with energy? That is not how. I mean, why should I believe that, and why should I take it that way?
When you
I
and when
exactly.
you
realized it doesn't make any sense.
yeah, when you encountered the fact that the ancient Sumerians also had these sort of beliefs, and the
Yeah, the
ancient,
Sumerians, the
You
Egyptians
know
had
what?
the same. Yeah,
You know what? I think I got. I didn't know that. I mean, I had already realized that this didn't make sense. Uh, when I mean, I got to know this very later, that this was actually a belief which existed pre-Islamically. So yeah, and I think For that, if I had if that had been the case, even then I could have said, okay, maybe. And I'm I'm telling you, this would have been the case. It would not have made any issue with me. I would have said, okay, what that, and I would have believed, or I would have given the same argument that Muslims gave. It doesn't matter whether it was there in another civilization or not. Maybe God revealed it to them as well. You see, so I would have believed that. I'm telling you.
Right.
Yeah, I think uh, so many of these things that you just you have an epiphany about,
But
pretty much, in a
what
sense.
what do you think about this response? Like, do you think, and listen what I'm saying. I'm not let's say you say, and that someone gives you something like this, and you respond to that by saying, the only response that you give to them is, you know what, the Sumerians also knew about this. And if the Muslims gives you a response that, you know what, maybe some God revealed that to Sumerians as well.
Yeah, I've
I
had that.
think
Yeah.
I think, you know what, if that is the only point that I have against this verse, I think I would say, okay, fine enough. The only thing that I can say is that, fine. This point at least stands. This argument or objection stands responded. I said, okay, I'll say
Yes,
okay.
I'm shaking. I'm really shaking right now. Uzair Khan, you want to come up and then prove yourself one more time. Let's say 1001 times I have been destroyed. Do you want to make it 1002?
Is this a guy that you
Uh,
know?
I don't know. I
No,
don't
no,
know who
no.
this guy is, but if he wants to come on, and yeah, I think we're open to have a conversation.
You know what? You know what? All of these people who actually do think that, or who do listen to these streams or discussions where these Muslim apologists destroy,
Quote
all these
unquote
agnostic
destroy,
and
right?
atheist, yeah, quote
Yeah,
unquote, destroy all these atheist and agnostic arguments and all of that. You know what? If you'll ask them, and particularly when they're sort of not just talking, they're talking to, let's say, like you or someone, some other agnostic or atheist, and they're debating with them in a way. If you The people who are claiming victory under the comment section, if you'd ask them, okay, you think that the Muslim apologist won this, so it must be the case that you understood his argument, right? Can you repeat that argument, or can you explain it to me what that argument was? And I'm quite sure that majority of them would not even know what the argument was, or how they would, I mean, what the argument, they'll not be able to articulate, or even, I think, if you dig a bit deeper, they might not even have understood what they're saying. So, what they are actually doing is, they go with the feel of the argument, or
exactly.
of the
Not even the
discussion,
feel. They
the
go
feel,
with
the
the
overall,
belief
yeah, the
that they
confidence,
have. The
yeah, the
yeah, the belief
confidence,
they have, and then they
yeah,
project that belief onto that what they're listening, and then they think that no, he must have lost this, and
yeah,
as you said, they don't understand anything in ABC of it,
exactly,
basically.
exactly.
So yeah, and if you have an argument, if you as you said, Kali, if they really understood the argument, they shouldn't have any problem coming on here and telling us
Yeah.
that, oh, you said this,
Can you
and
tell
then
me, yeah, can you just repeat the
Mufti.
argument that actually was given by the Muslim apologist, which responded to or refuted Philo's point? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
or your point or my point,
come and talk
when
about
I
it.
went
Yes.
there. Yeah, I mean, would you like to repeat that argument? Let's discuss it.
Anyway, just going back to what we were talking about. So, Kylie,
Yeah,
you said, sorry, I didn't know understand what you mean. That what did you ask me a question? What would I say in that situation if a Muslim
yeah.
said,
I mean, would you agree? Would you say that, yeah, it's I would think that, yeah, it's a valid response. I think it's not illogical to say that if someone is, that is
"No,
the
that
only
I've had
objection.
that many times, and I found that highly illogical."
Highly
Yeah,
illogical.
same here. I mean, I would say it
Highly
has its
illogical or
own
logical?
baggage.
Yes, yes. So
No, no, sorry.
before
Highly
before I explain,
illogical or logical?
Illogical. I'll
Illogical.
explain why.
Okay, okay.
I'll explain why.
Yeah,
But
okay.
let me just clarify what that me and you're on the same page, and that I understand what you're saying, right?
Mhm.
You're saying that in the situation where the scientific miracle argument, they present a feature of history that couldn't be known at the time, right? Let's say that's the Big Bang, right? And then somebody comes along and says the ancient Sumerians, the Chinese, or the Japanese, or the Egyptians knew it. And then they go, well, maybe they were the Muslims, as an objection to the objection, they go, well, maybe all these other cultures were inspired by God, or God had told them as well. Or there were Muslims there
God
as well.
revealed to them as well, right?
Yeah. And that's a logical response, you're saying. And you didn't know how to repudiate that, or you found that convincing or compelling, or maybe you used that yourself. Is that what you're saying? And you found it to be.
I have not. I never got to use it because by the time when I came to know about this, I had already I had other reasons to not believe in it. So I said, okay, I don't need to give this argument
Hmm.
because I already have other ways to refute it.
Yeah. Right. I understand. So no, I find this highly illogical. In fact, I've had the same debate that you're talking about, the same objection put towards me, and I found it to be
Hmm.
the completely illogical. And I explained in painstaking detail to people how it was illogical, right, and that they missed the
Hmm.
point. Um, um, yeah. So do you want me to explain why, or how, or do you want Philo to first
Yeah,
say what?
not in painful detail, but yeah, in
Yeah,
painless
yeah.
detail.
Yeah, it's just so in the case of the scientific miracle argument, they have an epistemic burden of proof to demonstrate. The whole point of the argument is to show that the veracity of Islam is true. You can't assume or beg the question that Islam is true, and that's it. It's simple as that. If you don't want a painstaking detailed argument, it's just circular reasoning.
Okay,
It's
okay,
circular logic.
Exactly.
okay.
It makes
No, I
sense
get
for
it.
the, yeah, it makes sense for the Muslim, but unless you then the question becomes, why accept that there were Muslims? Why would you accept that Aristotle was a Muslim, or Galen was a Muslim, or the Chinese? They were all inspired by the messenger of God, some sort of messenger there in that civilization. The whole point is that Islam is true, and Islam is true because of the scientific miracles. But by doing this, they assume the truth of the scientific miracles. You know, so this is circular reasoning. So it's simple as that.
Now,
Yeah. Sorry, go
can
on.
I respond to that?
Mhm.
Let me wear
Yeah,
the hat
I
of
think
Muslim
it
here.
is a
Let me respond to
assumption
that.
to conclusion as well, pretty much, right?
No, I'll tell you, and tell me if I'm wrong with it.
Yes.
So the Muslim would say that, okay, understand the argument that I'm making. I am telling you that this book has a fact that could not possibly have been known by any human at the time, right? Let's say it clearly clear. I'm not talking about what it actually says. I'm saying let's assume that the verse clearly just speaks of the Big Bang, right? Somehow. So assuming that if a Muslim says, okay, this is what the verse says, which cannot possibly have been known at that time by any human. Now, if different civilizations at different time and different parts of the world, and again, I'm just saying that this is the only objection that someone raises, because there could be other ways you could say, these civilizations did interact with each other, and therefore, all of that. So I would say, okay, if these different civilizations living in different times and different parts of the world had this similar idea of space and time and all of that, then I could argue that, okay, even if Quran is saying what another civilization also said in their books, it's still miraculous, because you cannot, just because it was also mentioned in a book or in by another civilization at another time, it does not disprove the fact that this is very amazing, that this correct scientific fact was mentioned in our book as well as in that book, because it could have been revealed, even they could have known it because God revealed it to them. And if it is something absolutely clearly scientifically true, and which could not have been something which or which is something that could not have been discovered at the time without these tools that we have today, then you could argue that, yeah, I mean, at least up till this point, by what arguments I have mentioned from a Muslim side, I would say, okay, I'm fine. I'll agree with you on this point, that uh, or just because another civilization knew about it, it doesn't make this miracle go away. Okay, I'll say that. What do you think about that?
So just because another civilization knew about it doesn't make the miracle. It does go away, because the whole point of the scientific miracles argument is that other civilizations didn't know about it.
No, it's not. It's not. This is what I'm saying. The whole point is that a book is mentioning something that could not have been known by humans anyway without the modern tools. Understand this? If what if this is the
Yeah,
argument?
I think no, but the see, I think we are conflating two different claims here, right? First, let me take this. Thank you, GKYRF, for your contribution. Really, really appreciate it. And I think I'll hope that others do help us as well. And if not, just help us by liking, subscribing, sharing, and do whatever you can to bring our channel up in the ranks, so, in terms of viewership. So thank you very much once again. And
Yeah.
what
So let me
what
just
I
say
meant
something.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
let me just finish this point that I have. So the point I was trying to make is that their very claim is that this book is, I think the 2 point that we are conflating is, Madan is thinking that this claim, the fundamental claim over there, is that they're trying to prove by bringing this verse is that this book is from God, right? And if that's
Right.
the claim, then
Yes.
they can't just go back to some other scripture and then say, oh yeah, there is written as well, and this that must be. No, we are talking
Right.
about this particular scripture, right? So in that sense, I think Mahadan is right. But when
Okay.
you're saying just
Yeah.
this verse
Yeah.
could be a divine, or something miraculous about it, nobody had known. If you are looking from that perspective, then Kali, I think your point is valid as
Okay. Great.
well.
Great. And now
Yeah.
again, I think then now let me as a Muslim add the additional layer that let's say you say that to me, and then what I will say that to you is fine
Uh,
if
can
your
I
response is
pause you for a second, because
sure, sure, sure,
John
yeah, 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 please go ahead. Yeah.
always supports us, and thank you very much, John, for your support. Thank you once again. Sorry,
Yeah.
Kali,
So
please
I
go
would
ahead.
respond to that by saying that as an intellectually honest Muslim, I would agree to your point if this is the only verse that I'm presenting to you. Now, let me present to you the whole case. I would say that there are all these verses that are there in the Quran, and all of these verses which speak about the natural phenomena, all of them are true, correct, absolutely correct. Now, I'm just presenting their argument, right? All of them are absolutely correct, scientifically true, and even if a few of them are also something which was mentioned in other uh, previous ancient books as well. Let's say all of them were mentioned in different ancient books. Let's say some of them were mentioned in Bible, some of them are books mentioned in some Sumerian tablets or whatever. I would still say okay, but the thing is, and this is what Muslims do say. They say, well, why did Quran only mention or repeat the true, scientifically true
Right.
statements? Okay. Now, again, now we'll go into the detail. Okay, whether they're actually true or not, and that
Yeah.
is where I'll go into. But if this is what he claims, then I think up till now, if I take that as face value, I would say, okay, fair enough. Let's go into the detail and what the Quran is actually saying. Let's see whether it's actually true or not. Because even if one of them makes a statement, if there's any statement in the Quran which is apparently does not go or which goes against the scientific truth, and you make up excuses, it's obvious that you're making excuses now, that this verse can also mean that, and now I'll say no. Now you have lost your ground as a Muslim, because you said that it's very obviously clear and true that there's no scientific mistake in the Quran, but this verse, without you using any mental gymnastic, cannot run away from the fact that this verse is scientifically incorrect. So if this is how you're going to play, then you have lost your grounding. Now the scientific miracle have truly gone away, because this is
So
not actually true.
yeah. So let me just say that's another argument that you're making,
Mm, mm,
hypothetical argument, as had you been a Muslim, which is a bit different from the other one, which is to assume that all other cultures are influenced by Islam anyway. You know.
mm,
So this is a different point of the improbability of Muhammad getting all of them correct. Like he
Yes.
picked and chose and took from certain cultures, but all those cultures had erroneous beliefs, and accurate beliefs and somewhat correct beliefs, etc. Whereas Muhammad always took the right ones, and that itself is a miracle. But I would handle that objection differently to the first one that you made, which is to say that even if there were different, even if Aristotle knew it, maybe God revealed it to Aristotle, which begs the question, right? It's like saying Leonardo da Vinci invented everything. He invented everything, right? And then somebody points out, look, no, there was an invention by some other guy before Leonardo da Vinci who invented something. Here's an inventor. Look, there's an inventor right there. His name is Bernard, right? He's not Leonardo da Vinci. This is before Leonardo da Vinci. So your claim has been refuted. That's all we need to do. But then the defender of the Leonardo da Vinci argument goes, actually, that was also Leonardo da Vinci, right? That's stupidity.
Yeah.
And that, so, but why should I accept that? He goes, oh, if you think Leonardo da Vinci invented everything, then if you accept that claim, then you'll believe in his prowess, and if you believe in his prowess, then you will believe that he was miraculous and then he could have done that. Maybe that's true. The logic of that is true. So the logic of God is true, of course. God could have influenced, but you have to beg the question that God exists in the first place, which is the whole point of the scientific miracles of the argument, to make that defense work, that all these other cultures were also inspired by Islam. So just like that point of Leonardo da Vinci, that everybody else was also impacted. The absurdity, you can see the absurdity of that. That's the same absurdity. And if any other culture said it, like Hindus said, for example, they invented something.
Plastic surgery. They claim that the plastic surgery they invented that.
And then you find like a Greek scientist or Greek thinker who did it in ancient Greek times, right? Predating the I'm not sure I'm getting the timeline correct. Maybe not Greek, maybe like this a Sumerian or something predating Hinduism or something, right? That they did it, right? That would be enough to debunk it, or prima facie. Now, if you want to now say that was a Hindu as well, right? You will need to bring out some historical evidence or something, some sort of independent argument. You can't simply say that, because that's part of the Hindu belief system, which can only be accepted after proving the veracity of the Hindu belief system, which is dependent upon the same claim that Hindus invented plastic surgery, which is being defended with the belief that everybody was a Hindu, therefore Hindus invented plastic surgery. It's a circular reasoning type of thing, and I think that's truly illogical. That's real illogicality. Yeah.
Let me. What you just said would make sense if the fact that they were trying to, or they were appealing to, or the scientific facts that they were appealing to, if they could have been, it would have been possible for those to be discoverable by humans as well. Okay. Now, if it is a fact which they claim, or if you say, let's say they're talking about Big Bang and the expanding universe, now I think if they claim that these facts could not have been known certainly by humans at the time, they could have theorized about it. Like, maybe the universe is expanding. Fine, okay. But if, let's say, there's a book which makes 100 scientific claims which has been written 2,000 years back, and you see, okay, all of these things are something which could not have been discovered by humans at that time, but this book, and yes, there are many things in this book which are beliefs of different parts and which different people believe, because it is, let's say, where people theorize about things. So let's say people theory about a civilization theory about the universe is this, and it has been captured over here, but it also happens to be the case that this is actually the true scientific fact, but it could also not have been discovered by them, because there is no way for them to determine that without any tools or telescopes and all of that. But so if these are the kinds of facts that we're talking about, which could not have been discovered by the humans at that time, would your argument still stand?
So there's two different type of objections you can make to this. I mean, a weaker one, which is to say that because this is a specific type of argument to demonstrate the veracity of Islam. All it would
Hmm.
mean then, if there are other humans who've discovered it, yeah, it wouldn't establish the veracity of Islam any more than the other culture's religious beliefs. So if let's say there was some ancient Sumerian who knew about the Big Bang as well, and he couldn't
Hmm.
also figure this out without his tools. Yeah, and if that's what you're trying to say, so it's a nuanced argument now. The argument is that none of these humans could have found out. So how did they know? Well, that's equally sayable. If we grant the idea that none of these humans could have found out, it doesn't add any more weight to Islam's the primacy of
Claim.
Islam and the primacy
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Uh,
No, but
what if there is one
there is
point,
one more problem here,
filtration
and
point?
yeah.
yeah,
That's
I
why
would
no,
say that,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
yeah,
that's why I said this is a weaker objection because it's just
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
granting the premise that humans
Hmm.
couldn't have known that. The stronger
I,
objection, the
yeah,
stronger
yeah.
objection is not granting that premise in the first place that humans
Okay.
couldn't have not
No,
known
but
that.
but
Yeah.
you would not grant them the fact that Big Bang could not have been known by humans at that time.
No, I wouldn't. I'll tell you why I wouldn't. Because it depends on how I'm approaching it. So if indeed I see if I go through the historical and literature and find many different cultures knowing about the Big Bang, right? It would be a plausibly open explanation to me that people did have the ingenuity to figure these things out, right? I wouldn't straight away think that this was impossible, given the fact that different cultures are finding out these things, like and therefore I would. So for you, it would be like so ancient Sumerians knew it as well, but even they can't find that out because they don't have advanced physics or telescopes or all these mathematical theorems. So how the heck did they know this? I
God
don't
told
think
them.
that's
God told them.
unreasonable. No, I don't think that's unreasonable. But I would think that as well. But at the same time, I would think the fact that all these plethora of different cultures are saying the same thing, maybe they can know it because they didn't have the tools, and without the tools, they're knowing these things. That then there must be some reason behind it because I don't believe in if you have a give a low credence to supernatural and superstitious stuff for other reasons as well. For example, you may think that naturalism is just more likely to be true. Then you're going to look at that and think, all right, they probably had some way of figuring these things out, right? Um, um, I think that's still a slightly weaker point. My real understanding of this is a bit more nuanced. The reason that the ancient Sumerians and things knew about this is because they didn't know about this in the first place. They didn't know about it. They were talking about intelligence.
Exactly.
They didn't know
Exactly.
about it. They were
And
saying
what
very
they believed
yeah,
and what they believed were actually not exactly correct. It was,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah. So and that's
yeah.
where I'll
So
come back. So
yeah,
I will.
their
My
understanding
point is
of
this.
yeah,
Ultimately, I'll come back to the fact. Okay, what were they actually saying? Let's look at that. Oh, well, you look at it. It's not actually saying what you're claiming it to say.
yeah.
It's just
It's
a
the
very vague belief.
vagueness of
And I
their
will come
whatever.
back to that and I'll say, well, you are saying that as well. It's a very vague statement. It doesn't actually say what you're claiming it to say. So I'm sorry, I'll not accept it as a fact. Anyways, so I don't even have to bring. My point is this: I
yeah,
will not bring up that point that anyone else in the past knew it.
yeah.
I don't.
I mean,
I would
and
not bring it. I would say, let's look at at the statement
yeah,
that you're talking about.
yeah, and but the particular things that you're talking about are such that it might dumbfound somebody with a little bit of generic thinking to think, if it is mentioning the Big Bang in ancient Sumerian times, how would they know that, right?
Yeah.
But then not all of the scientific miracles are like that. For example, sometimes you just require a little bit of understanding and reading of history to know how they could know things, right? Like some
Hmm.
scientific miracles prophecies are like knowing that light can travel all the way down to the depths of the ocean.
That's yeah. Again, I agree. That is discoverable. That
That's
is clearly
discoverable.
discoverable.
But
Exactly. And I would look into these facts and I
yeah,
would say, no, this is not undiscoverable. This is actually
yes,
discoverable. If
yeah,
you talk about embryos and all of that, even Hamza
yes,
Tzortzis brought it up that all the things that Quran says, it talks
mm,
about the things which were actually visibly, you could see through miscarriages and looking at even animal pregnancies and all of that. So you
mm,
could argue, you could have all of these inferences from observation and all of that. So again, we'll go back to actually reading and going through, okay, what are you actually talking about? Let's go through them and see if they actually make sense, and if they actually are saying what you're actually trying to say, and they're actually not truly discoverable by humans at the time. So then I mean, and I will go there and I'll say, okay, no, what you're saying is actually either it's discoverable by humans, it was discovered by humans, people knew about it, all of these kinds of facts I will totally throw out the door, and I would say,
Yeah.
these are not acceptable at all.
Yeah,
Yes.
and one more thing is like, what is more on a prior probability basis? What is more likely? An instrument that they probably knew about, which you just haven't discovered, or their techniques probably of knowing all these things. That is more likely, or something supernatural. I think that there is a difference in prior probabilities over there as well. I
Right.
think so in
No, and
terms
and
of.
you know what, even you could bring up the fact that even again, I was making these arguments on a very superficial level, meaning that if you'll bring this up as a general argument, they will respond to it that when I will say, okay, fine, given what you have said up till now is true, I'll give you that, and I'll no longer bring that up, and I'll not bring it up. What I'll do is, okay, you are claiming that Quran has all the right facts and none of them are incorrect, and Quran and Hadith together. But when I see them, it has not just copied what you're claiming to be true, it also seems to have copied what is incorrect. So, for example, the theory about why the child resembles his parent, a mother side or his father side. Do you know what the Hadith says about that? So there's a Hadith which says that a person came to the Prophet, and
Right,
he
right,
asked,
right.
yeah, he asked him, okay, why does a child resemble his mother sometimes, and his paternal side sometimes, and sometimes his maternal side? And the Prophet
Yeah, he
said,
said, whoever comes
whoever
first. Yeah, whoever comes
whoever
first.
orgasms first, whether
Yeah,
if it's a mother, if it's a lady, then okay, the child will resemble its mother, and if it's the father who orgasms first, then it's basically uh, the father's
boy.
side
Yeah,
that
boy.
he'll look
Yeah,
after. Now,
boy. Yeah.
this seems to, I mean, based on my research, it seems that this was also
Yeah, sorry.
something that was
I said,
believed in.
yeah, I just wanted to correct myself.
uh,
I said boy. No, it's not boy. It's the resemblance part, right? It resembles the father. Right?
Resemblance, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry. Right.
There are some. I think there's a very weak hadith which mentions that it's a boy or a girl based
Yeah,
on
yeah.
whether
There is one
who
hadith
comes first. Yeah,
like
but
that
that
as
is not.
well.
I don't think that's authentic. But yeah, the
Yeah,
resemblance one is.
yeah, yeah.
So but this actually was also believed to be true in the Greek medicine, probably, or Persian, I don't know, but some sort of medicine it was used to be
Older, yeah,
believed in.
older writings.
Uh,
Yeah, all these.
okay, not who orgasms first. Then who? Then what? I know. Okay, okay. What does it say? They're gonna say, oh, yeah. They're gonna say whoever overcomes, right?
Yeah, I
Whoever
think
overcomes
then
it.
it's
Don't
a game
worry.
of interpretation. Yeah, it's
No,
a
no, no,
game of
no. I'll not let them play this game. Don't worry. We'll bring up that hadith, and you know what? I'll bring up the science of understanding hadith as well, because Muslims don't understand hadith by just looking at one hadith, do they? They look at several hadith and they say, okay, let's look at all the hadiths together, and then and then understand what the hadith is trying to say, right? So let me, because I know what way you're going with this, right? And let me bring up that hadith, and I'll show you how they respond to it, and how weak of a response that is. And hopefully, whoever gave you that response about whoever's sperms overcomes the other, the child will resemble that child. And this is the interpretation that these guys have now started to use. So I'll tell you why that doesn't make any sense. Let me bring up that hadith. Resembles.
Kelly. That's already on the screen.
It's already there? Okay, great. Now let's check this hadith. Yeah, 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 I'll tell you. How can I translate? I don't have to translate it. We will go to the translation, and see the translation that is there on this website, and then
Uh,
we'll ask
uh,
you if I'm
yeah,
incorrect. Please
Kelly,
do bring it up.
can I just speak for a minute?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
MMD, if you want to join the stream, come up and we'll have a very civil conversation. You can come up if you want, and we'll talk about this hadith and then your interpretation, maybe our interpretation, not our interpretation, but
Mhm.
scholars' interpretation, basically, not our
Oh, I
interpretation.
see. Not the 21st century website. Great, great. Can you give me a Can you bring up a translation from the initial 200 years? of this hadith?
Yeah.
Please do bring it up. I'll show you. I'll tell you. I'll give you the whole context, and then take it to your scholars and tell me how does that make sense. So okay, this is where it the hadith. This is what the hadith says. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bring it up. Tell me what the early sources say.
Yeah.
Now
And
let
how
me
early
go
are you
through the.
going back? How
Yeah,
how
yeah.
early are you going
And
back?
even
Are
if
you?
the and remember, you cannot run to the scholar's understanding of it if the hadith itself is very clear. Okay, so let's go to the hadith and let me tell you. Uh, Now, let's see what the hadith is actually saying. It says that I'm going to ask you three things, whatever. And one of the questions that he asks is, why does the child resemble its father and why does it resemble its maternal uncle? So they don't even say that the child resembles the mother for some reason, rather its maternal uncle. But anyways, so he's talking about whether the child looks like his father's family or his mother's family. Now, what is the response? Right. Yeah. Tell me what the explanation is, by the way, MMD. Write it down. We'll show your comment over here. What explanation is given by the early scholars, and what is the source of that? We are referring to authentic hadith,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
let's
and
see what it says.
yeah, I think he's gonna go to. I don't know if Ibn Kasir has. No, I sorry.
Okay. What is Ibn Kasir, the early scholar?
Hmm.
Ibn Kasir is an early scholar.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, you shouldn't go
You
to
know
Ibn
when
Kasir,
when
right?
Ibn Kasir was there.
Yeah, yeah, no, you shouldn't go to Ibn Kasir, right? That's what I'm saying. If he goes to Ibn Kasir, then he's 14th century scholar, I think, right? 13th to 14th century scholar. You don't want to
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah.
If you want
He
to
is
really go
he's a
back to a scholar,
1300.
then
Do you know how
yeah,
many years? Yeah. 732 and 1300. What's the difference between how many years of difference is there in between these? So don't call him an early scholar.
yeah, yeah, he's a
So
mufassir. Yeah,
okay, okay, let's see. Oh, he's a mufassir. Yes,
yeah,
no
Ibn Kasir
problem.
is a mufassir. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I
so
don't
then
want
you'll
to.
follow everything what Ibn Kathir says, right? Or will you not? Okay, so okay, we, I don't know what he's trying to say. Yes, we know that Ibn Kathir is a mufassir.
Yeah, he's a
Do you
mufassir.
want to
Yeah,
bring
we
up
know
his
that. Yeah,
argument? Do you want to bring up his explanation or not? Ah, it's okay. Let me just before you go, look at the other hadith that I'll show you, and then tell me what you understand by this verse. Also makes sense. Okay, okay, okay. So, do you want to bring? Philo mentioned it. If you want to bring him up, if he's not the one, fine. Bring whoever scholar, whichever scholar you want to bring up. Okay. So now let go down where it says where he answers the question. Go down. You can understand Arabic, right? Can you please come up and please explain the Arabic to us? I will really love to talk to you. Please, because yeah, I don't. Oh no, do you want to go to Hadith commentary suddenly? So you go from translation. You're saying we don't know Arabic to now Arab Hadith commentaries. You see, there's a difference
yeah,
between a
yeah, yeah.
translation and
No,
commentaries.
I thought you knew Arabic so well that you didn't need
Yeah.
translations. I mean the
Mm. Not only he's
no,
not.
no,
He does not.
he's
Now, what he
commentary. He's
needs
talking
is.
about commentary.
Yeah, he does not even need translation because translation sometimes don't favor them, so they'll go to commentaries now because
Yeah, no, yeah,
commentaries
and the
can then
the the one who
yeah.
does commentary doesn't have to translate,
No
right?
problem. Philo, let me just complete my point. Let's just complete our point and then let the audience decide. And if he wants to bring, he have given so many. He had not given just saying, oh, go to the hadith commentaries and all. Which book do you want to refer to? Just tell us that, and we'll bring it up over here. Okay, so let's go through this. It says, tell me who the commentary comes from, please. So the testify, this, what do you think?
Yeah, the commentary comes from Muhaddisin, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So what do you
no
want?
problem. Yeah, yeah. Let me just complete this hadith. Um, yeah, let's go there. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So this says, okay, go up. I think you have come down a bit too much. Just stop here. Yeah, just a bit more. Okay. As for the resemblance of the child to its parents, if a man has sexual intercourse with his wife and gets discharged first, the child will resemble the father, and if the woman gets discharged first, the child will resemble her. Okay. So now this hadith translation, which is sunnah.com, it says whoever discharges first. Now I know that now modern Muslims have started translating this verse very differently. What they say is that no, it actually means whoever sperms overcomes will actually, child will
The
resemble that
child will
character.
resemble that.
So
Yeah,
now
yeah,
they appeal to that, genetics and DNA overcoming and all of that, being the dominant gene and all of that. This is what they appeal to. Now, why does this not make any sense, particularly in the context of what the Prophet is saying over here? And I wanted to bring another hadith. I'm giving you a reference. Philo, just bring this hadith up now, once again.
yeah.
And when you are discussing this, please also,
No,
sorry, I think.
it's not talking about sperm. It's talking about discharge. They didn't have any clue about what
Yeah, yeah, don't worry.
the quantum of
We will
life was. They because when
let
you
me.
need it for your I'm responding to mmd, and when they need it for their own miraculous whatever claims, they would all of a sudden say that, oh, that see, they knew that sperm is the quantum of life, right? From a humanistic perspective, right? But all of a sudden now here it's the discharge means something else, right? And of
So
course
I
they,
think so.
yeah.
For the word, for how the the word that has been translated as what do you call discharge is the word ma'uhu. Fasabakaha ma'uhu. Why don't you just keep it there, and on your screen, go to the second last line, the first word. This is what it is, because I don't know Arabic, but I generally know the words. So I know the
Which
words
one,
that
the
they're
one
referring
that
to.
you just
Some
posted?
words. So the second last line in Arabic, and the first word. So that is ma'uhu. Mim alif waw he.
In the
So ma'uhu.
new one, right?
Not in the new
The
one.
one you
The
just
one, the
posted?
front. No, not in the new one. Just the one that you've opened in front of you. I'm
Yeah.
saying, yeah, don't move it. You moved it. I don't know why did you move it. I keep.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's one, two, three, four. Fourth last line, the first word. So just highlight it. I just want you to highlight it. Second, fourth line. No, just above it. This is the third. Just above it. This one. This is what has been translated as the ejaculation. Now, I have given you another hadith. Open it up so that I can show it to you.
Yeah. Hold on.
No problem, bro. Let me show you another hadith and then tell me what does this word mean.
Yeah. Ask him to come up, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have already given the link. So
No, I
just
think
tell
I
me.
brought in the same one.
He has the
Actually.
no. You've got the same one. Why though?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've
My
given you the
mistake.
link,
My
right?
mistake. Yeah.
Have
No.
I not?
No. I have
Yeah.
two of them open, right? So.
Because he wants to play with the word ma'uhu. Let's see if he
Right.
can play with the word talabat. So let's see.
This is the one now.
This is the one. Now look at this hadith. No problem. Just look at this hadith and now tell me what word has been used over here, and do you want to still play that game or not? Now, this is the hadith which is go show the reference. So this is basically Sahih Bukhari, hadith number 314b. Okay,
Yeah.
Sahih
Sahih
hadith,
Muslim.
authentic
Sahih
hadith. Now
Muslim.
listen to this hadith very clear, very you know uh,
Sahih Muslim. Sahih Muslim.
yeah,
Yeah.
carefully. So, should a woman wash herself when she sees a sexual dream and sees marks of liquid? So, what does that mean? It means that if she has sort of what you'll call a wet dream at night, a woman, right? Now, the Holy Prophet said, yes. So the woman should wash herself if she has had a wet dream. Now, Aisha said to her, may your hand be covered with dust. And then, I mean, this is just a sort of not very important. She narrated, the Messenger of Allah said, leave her alone. In what way does the child resemble her? But the fact that when the genes are. Now, this is, you see, the translation that they have done.
Yeah.
Let me give you another hadith, in fact, because this wording is a bit more vague, and Let me show you. Sorry, just give me another one. Contributed and all of that. Yeah, the Prophet was talking about gene contribution. You see, this verse, this
This
hadith
is,
has been
I think,
translated, retranslated.
yeah, I think what has caused this change in Sunnah.com, and
Yeah,
it is in past 1 or 2 years, it has changed rapidly
yeah,
because earlier they had a very honest translation, probably
yeah.
comparatively. I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I'm going to bring up another one. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. This one. Sorry, this is. Uh,
You are choosing your own translations. Come on, bro. Bring your own
you know
translations.
what? I have said you don't. It's not even about translations. We're talking about what the hadith is actually saying. Go and take it to your scholars and ask them what this verse is actually, hadith is actually saying.
Right.
So,
Stay
no
on the
problem.
last. Stay on the
Yeah, yeah.
last.
Show me, show me this entire sentence for the fact that when the genes are contributed by women, women prevail upon those of a man. Okay, you see, tell me what is this hadith actually talking about in this context? Just imagine we are talking about a woman's wet dream, and suddenly the prophet starts talking about genes being contributed for a
Genes
child.
being con-
Do you know what's
Where,
happening
where,
over here?
what's, I think how big a stretch
I'll tell
that
you.
is, right? How
I'll
big a
tell you
stretch
what.
that is.
I'll give you another one. This. Yeah, let me go this one. Yeah, yeah. Let me give this one. Open this one because at least the you know what they have done. You see, they have translated it so badly that it does not even make any sense now. So now I'll open this one up, the one that I've opened up right now. And this is what I'm referring to. This is now how they have retranslated it. That the child resembles her, but the fact that when the genes are contributed by the woman, they prevail upon those of a man. This is how they have translated it. Sabakaha ma'uhu.
Okay.
Okay. Now
Sharing.
open this one. Now this one. Now it is the same. It is the same incident. And what's happening is, in case of a woman sees that she must take a bath. Now, what is this theme talking about? It's about the same issue, that if a woman has a wet dream, and that you can see that, in the top. Anas bin Malik said that Salama narrated that she asked a messenger about a woman who sees in a dream what a man sees, sexual dream. Okay. The messenger said, in case a woman sees that, she must take a bath. Now, Salama says, Salama says that I was bashful. I was very sort of embarrassed on the account of that, and said, does it happen? And what it means is that, does this happen with women as well, the wet dreams? And the Prophet said, yes. Otherwise, how can a child resemble her? A man's discharge is thick and white, and the discharge of a woman is thin and yellow. So the resemblance comes from the one, now again, whose genes prevail or
Yeah, yeah.
dominate.
They डंडी मार
Now
रही है
just
यहाँ पे भी.
now just go down there. Go down there. I'll show you the wording in Arabic as well. Now start highlighting from the third line, right? Yeah, and say okay, ma'a rajulu ghalizan. Yeah, this ma'a word is basically how they have translated discharge, right? Now just imagine that they're talking about discharge, and suddenly he starts talking about gene prevailing again, right?
Yes.
They're talking about women's discharge and female discharge, and suddenly he says that, oh, so the resemblance comes from the one whose genes prevail or dominate. Now, just look at what this hadith is actually saying. Simple translation would have been, a woman, a Sahabi actually asked, okay, what happens if a lady has a wet dream? Prophet said she should take a bath. Now, a female Sahabi asks, does that happen to women? Do they have wet dreams? And the Prophet says, well,
I mean, this
yes.
is this is this
Otherwise,
is this is an
otherwise,
absurd
how can
response, by the way.
exactly? Otherwise, how can a child resemble her? Now, what does that mean? If they
this is a
talk
no answer. This is a no answer. I
exactly,
mean, this is an absurd answer, to be
why
honest.
would you say otherwise he can resemble her?
Yeah.
You can play all these word games. You see, I don't have to convince you. It's fine.
No, no. I
I'm
think
showing the audience how the wordings have been changed over here. So again, it's up to the audience. They can go. They can see what it means. They can go and investigate what the word means. All of these. Go and what's wrong with that? How does a child resemble? You don't know how the book is written? What book? Listen, I'm talking about the fact that this is talking
no, but
about
yeah,
orgasm and
yeah,
ejaculations, and the other hadith also talked about a man ejaculating and a woman ejaculating. You will say no, it does not refer to ejaculation. It just says, I think it was sabakaha something ma'hu, right? Right. Whoever prevails, whoever's sperm or what you'd call ma'hu prevails. Right. Now, tell me the word ma'hu means genetic material. Can you prove that? Because this is what it says. Fasabakaha ma'uhu, the one that Philo has highlighted. Show it to me that ma'uhu means genetic material. Show me in Arabic where it means genetic material. Let's see if that is what it means. You see, this
yeah.
is the kind of, I'm sorry, but
Where is it
I think
coming
this should
from?
open your eyes. I think this should open your eyes that, this is how they are actually changing the translations, and
Yeah,
they're
yeah. And
modifying
then
their materials. So,
they are doing your mental gymnastics for you,
exactly,
basically, right? They have
exactly.
done it for you already.
To me, it's quite obvious what they're trying to do. I mean, you see these incidents, and you should only simply ask, okay, did your prophet gave coherent replies and responses? If yes, what does that other hadith mean? You're talking about a woman's wet dream, and suddenly you start talking about children resembling, for whoever's genetic material is prevailing. How does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think one of the very fundamental things over here is if you are talking about a text that's written almost 40, at least Hadith literature is much later, probably at least 200, 300 years later, and even the existing copies are probably from 11th to 12th centuries, right? So it's maybe much later, like 400, 500 years later it's being written. Now you have to go back and ask what these words mean, basically, right? Unless until you have a handle on them, these translations are always gonna be someone, trying to maybe change them to fit it to current understanding of the science, probably so as not to appear incorrect, right? So as Khayali did, probably what you'll have to do is you have to go back to multiple places where these words are occurring, and then check what do they collect mean in that context, right? And if you find a misalignment, then you'll realize that the meaning that they
Yeah.
are taking is not really the one that should be there,
Yeah, there's
right? That's
another
a
one.
very clear
Yeah,
indication.
there's
Yeah.
another hadith I've given you. I mean, again, these are all the similar. There are all similar instances that is being referred to.
Okay. All right.
It's
Which
the
one is
same
this?
incident being discussed.
Mhm.
And just bringing this up, there is not just one incident. I've given you the Bukhari 3328 as well.
Bukhari 3328, right? Okay. Okay. Here it is. Can you see it,
I'll
Khayali?
just for the sake of it, I'll give you many versions of this, many from many different books and how they have been translated. So again, this is the same one. Allah does not refrain from saying the truth. It is obligatory for a woman to take a bath after she gets nocturnal discharge, which is a wet dream. She said
Mm.
yes if she notices the wet water. Salma smiled and said, "Does a woman gets discharged?" Allah said, "Then why does the child resemble her?"
Allah's
Now, what does
Apologist.
that mean? What does that even mean? This means that a
Yeah,
woman's
I
discharge
mean,
relates to this.
see, I mean, how incoherent your answer could be, right?
Exactly. And then go to the next hadith as well. Just I want to show him
Then why
many
does
so that he thinks, if he thinks that it somehow saves it, it's go to the Ibn Majah one, the second last one.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, what? Acha, they're all fake.
they're all fake, right, right. Okay, who's
Oh,
real?
some more
Nobody's
reliable.
real.
No, it's not that they are one or yeah, this principle that you just mentioned, that some are more reliable than others. Where did you get that principle from? Some
I
are
think
more
I think
reliable
I
than
think they
others.
need to I think they need to hop on
Yeah.
the stream and then have a discussion. I
And
think this is not a good idea
do
to.
you know answer, please? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying. Can you just open the other two hadiths as well? I just want to show, just in case the audience. I'm not showing this to MMD anymore.
Which ones?
If he
Which
wants to
ones?
understand, it's
Which
up to
one? Give me
him.
the number. Give me the
I've
number.
given you. Go to the comment section. I've given you two more. The last two ones
Okay,
are others, different ones.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. 6601 Ibn
yeah,
Majah
yeah.
and Sunan an-Nasai. Okay, all right. Okay.
And it's not just about Muslim. There are Ibn Majah hadiths as well. Ibn Majah hadiths have also been marked as Sahih. So it's not just about Muslim who's already referred to this. I can give you many versions, man. I can give you all of these versions. There are around 6, 7 of them. Okay. Once again, you open this up, right? Once again, see, read this. It's the same one. Okay, a woman who sees dream something that which a man sees. The messenger says, yes, she sees that and has a discharge. Then let her perform a bath. Messenger of Allah, does that really happen? Yes. The water of the man is thick, and and that of a
It's
water of a
the
woman
same
is thin
only.
and yellow. Whichever
Yeah,
of them
yeah.
comes first, or predominate again, the child will resemble that.
I think
Now,
there is an error over here. This
what?
is a
Which one?
factual error. You see the one I'm highlighting? This
Again,
is a
yeah, yeah. I mean, but
factual
it's
error.
yeah. This says it, but anyways,
You know, this is a factual error, right?
mm,
Because
mm,
it's not like this. But
yeah.
then, yeah,
So all of these hadith you can refer to. It's even talking about. I
yeah,
mean, talking about this in the context of a nocturnal discharge. I think it clearly shows us that what was being discussed in that other hadith as well. So I mean, it's up to you guys, man. It's we can only show you what's there. If you still don't, if you want to go with your scholars, it's up to you, of course.
yeah. This
This is the
Sunan
last one again.
Nasai, right? Nasai, right?
It's exactly the same. Does a woman have to perform ghusl if she has a wet dream? Yes, if she sees water. Do women really have wet dream? Messenger said, who else? How else would her child resemble her? Tell me, what does a wet dream
What does
has to do with
has
child
to do with
resembling
this
her?
child resembling her?
That is, if she has an emission of the fluid of an organ. And so
Yeah, I
again,
think.
all of this, I mean, you're saying that a woman's wet dream has something to do with the child resembling her,
Yeah, I think.
or
I mean,
her genetics overcoming it. I
yeah.
don't know, how does that make any sense. Anyways,
Then
I
he's
think, yeah, that's
asking.
all.
He's asking. Yeah, I think we are done with debunking this guy,
Don't
MMD.
worry, bro. Don't believe us, bro. Don't believe sunnah.com. Don't
Yeah,
believe
don't believe your
us. Don't go
scholars.
go
Don't believe your translators.
go and get it translated
Yeah,
yourself. Go and get it
I think
translated.
see how self-refuting their own ideologies. And
Yeah.
the reason I'm telling you, they have to reject their best of the best translators just because they just can't grapple with the translations because they just can't fit it
And
into their current understanding,
I don't
right?
know.
I mean, you go
Yeah.
see the reason being, you go to Quran.com, you'll have like Maududi, I don't know who else, Pickthal, not Abu Shakir, Shakir, and who all you have, Mohsin Ali, Mohsin, what's his name, Mohsin Khan, right? You have so many different translations, but they reject all of
Yeah.
them. Why? Because they don't just fit. Because these were written
Yeah.
like 1950s and maybe in
And
1970s up
and
until 1970s, right?
exactly.
So their translations wouldn't match with some new understanding of something, right? Maybe genetics they want to insert in, but that's not there in their translations. What do they do? They have to reject. No, these are like the scholars who have probably studied Arabic, classical Arabic, Quranic Arabic for almost whole of their life, pretty much.
Yeah.
But
And
this is their level.
listen, read what he's even saying. He says that, oh, it is only saying he's answering the fact that women emit fluids. Bro, he's also saying that when a woman questioned the fact that, oh, do women also emit, discharge at night? And the prophet said,
The
okay.
answer is not a straightforward yes or
The
no.
answer is, then why you don't think that women discharge at night? Then how come a child resemble her? So that clearly means that he's saying that a woman's discharge has something to do with that. Unless you say that your prophet does answers do not make any sense, and
Yeah, maybe
they are
he
not
just
coherent.
doesn't understand. Yeah,
And
he
I'm not
just
saying
doesn't.
and I'm not saying that. I
Yeah,
believe that your prophet did make some sense when he was trying to say something. He actually, he's making sense at least to himself. So I think it's very sort of
otherwise that answer
weird,
would be really absurd, right? I mean,
incoherent. Yeah, yeah. And then
incoherent.
you're sort of thinking very lowly of your prophet.
Exactly.
Otherwise, yeah,
Yeah.
bro, read. The woman's genes do not come from her discharge, bro. Read. It does not.
Also, please
You're
tell
thinking
me.
of a man's sperm.
Yeah, I think
Anyways, yeah, I
it's
think we have had
enough
enough.
of it. Enough of
Enough of it.
him.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I think we
Enough
can.
of
In
him.
fact, it has been a while.
He's being debunked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I
think we
mean,
have to. We don't have to entertain him
yeah,
so much. But yeah,
yeah. He's been
it's been a
debunked.
while. So yeah, I think we should close the stream now.
Yeah, it's. I think we spent last half an hour on what is that?
Yeah.
Eh,
Just to
uh,
clarify,
what is
just to clarify,
metam?
an egg is not discharged during a nocturnal discharge. Okay, so just
Hmm,
people should get this correctly.
right, right. I can't take you seriously. Yes, don't take it because that's where you'll get stuck. You'll
Give
stay
me
stuck
another
where
time.
you are. Yeah, you'll stay stuck where you are. Oh, first and last. Okay, no offense. Okay, no, this I shouldn't have highlighted that. All right, I think we're done. Martin, you have been quiet for a long time.
Yeah, I
Shall we
think
close
that
the
in
stream?
this topic, in this topic,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think this topic is
I don't want
yeah,
to speak too much, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, I think we should. I'm quite tired now, so let's just say goodbye to the audience and leave.
why do you have to learn Arabic to understand it?
Can you say
So
anything
you,
in Arabic, by the way?
yeah,
If not, then how do you know that whatever the scholars are telling you is true? If let's say, let me ask you this: if Sunnah.com's translation is, how do you know that Sunnah.com's translation is incorrect? How do you know that? Can you tell me that?
and how do you know that somebody else's translation is better than this, right?
Great, great. Tell me what this verse means. Great, you speak Arabic, right? Tell me, I've shown you the hadith. You have not tried to translate one of the hadiths. Give me a translation of one of these hadiths. Simple translation. You have not. You wrote so many comments. You've not tried to translate it. Oh, great. Tell me the translation of these hadiths.
Yeah, yeah.
A full translation.
Why
A
did
full
you come up
translation.
here?
Don't just give
Yeah,
me a single words and half sentences, because it will not be obvious how incoherent that hadith would become when you translate it that way. Tell me, what does this hadith translate to? No, no, no. Please, we have time. If you want to come up, we'll not try to run away. If you want to come up, you're welcome. We
yeah,
can
yeah. If you
we can
now
ping the
refuse,
link
you are
again if
running
you
away
want,
basically. If
because you
you
said that you
refuse,
know Arabic, and I'm happy to discuss with you, and I want to know what this means in Arabic. I want to be corrected if I'm wrong. Great, great. Come on, please
yeah.
come on stage and tell us
Link is
what does
link
this
is
hadith mean and translate.
link is already up
Suddenly you
there.
have suddenly you have become an Arabic expert the moment we said, "Oh, we are tired. I'm going to leave." You're like, "Oh, we know
Yeah.
Arabic." So please come on, come and tell us the translation if you want. Do you want to come up?
No,
No, it
he's
does not.
just
I don't think
running
so.
away. No, he's
I
just
don't think
running
so.
away.
I don't think so. He wants to come up. It's up to you, man. It's up to you.
Yeah,
No
no,
problem.
you have a chance to prove us wrong, right? Come up and let's talk.
You
Let's
said and
see.
in you said you said made a statement in Arabic instead of giving us a translation of this hadith. Even in the comment, you don't want to come up. Just give us a translation in the in your comment section. You can
Yes,
you
we do.
you just know taunts and nothing else. So no problem. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
let's close the stream.
yeah,
No
yeah,
problem.
yeah. I think he's running away. I don't know what is that word in PU, dollar.
I
Why?
don't know. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Let's yeah. So let's just. I think enough speaking, you guys. Let's
Yeah.
turn off the
All
stream.
right. All right, Madin, you want to add something to this really interesting encounter? Oh, Madin, I hope you're not asleep by now.
He might have already gone to sleep. It's clearly talking about the genes,
I,
not discharge.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking
You know what?
maybe,
No, no, no. Listen. You know,
maybe
at
I'm
night,
thinking, maybe
at
I'm
night,
thinking he's a
women's,
troll. Kelly,
at
I
night,
think,
women's. Yeah, he is.
Kelly,
He is. Let's ignore him. You're
he's a
right. He's a
troll.
troll.
I think he's
He
a
just,
troll.
I think he just copied a sentence of Arabic from Google. He said, okay, just give me a sentence of Arabic in,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so that I can paste it over here.
yeah. He's
Suddenly, he
just
knows
a
Arabic
troll.
when we said we are tired. No, no
Yeah.
problem.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Let's close the stream.
Yeah,
Madin, you there?
let's.
All right. Madan, you're not there. Anyways, so
By
for
the way, just
anybody,
one more sentence. Give me the Arabic word for genes, which is there. Now, just one word. Give me the Arabic word that is there in this hadith, which translates to gene. Write it down in the comments immediately. Don't troll anymore. If you know Arabic, give me the word for gene that is there in these hadith, which translates to gene. Please. Al-Zut. No, no. Okay, you see? Again, this chat. Tell me the word that has been used. I'll ask you once again. Tell me the word used in this hadith for genes. You said that it means genes. Tell me the Arabic word for it. You know Arabic, please. Quickly. Don't search it on Google. Tell me. Or in fact, go and search it on Google. I gave you that option as well. Again, he's not going to respond on it. Again, it's
no,
fine.
I think it's time to close.
Yeah, let's
He's
close it.
just a
Let's close it.
troll. He's just a
Yeah,
troll.
let's close it. Okay.
Okay,
Okay, guys.
Madan,
Yeah.
Madan, uh, are you there? All right. Before we close, thank you everybody who has joined. And the best way to support what we are doing is to if you are able, if you can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/Philo Sapience, or you can go to buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Philo Sapience. We do have English channel as well, but we haven't streamed on it for a long time. You can see it's on the banner that's scrolling down. It's youtube.com/unveiling faith. And the best way, if you can't support us uh, these ways, you know, of course, there are other channels as well, super chats, super stickers, and memberships, and all those things. But if you can't, the best thing you can do is comment as much as you can. See, today MMD has upped our stakes very high because he has commented a lot. So thank you, MMD as well. And just go and spread our channel. Comment after the stream is over. Comment while the stream is going on. Share it, subscribe it, and press the notification bell. So whenever there is a stream next time, you'll get the notification and you can join us. And we'll try if we can do Hindi Urdu stream tomorrow. No promises though, depending on how our schedules are. But yeah, thank you to my co-hosts Mahaden and Kelly. This was a really engaging stream, I would say, after a long time. So yeah, we'll try to join you again tomorrow. Until then, ciao. Thank you.